Hey everyone, I'm Tassenix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, covering Season 64 3 vs 3 Grand Arena Championship for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I am, of course, joined by the regular crew, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. But it is my very great pleasure, our very great pleasure, to welcome a special guest once more to one of these in-betweener episodes. He is one of the founding members of the Gambit podcast, a top 50, top 100 Grand Arena player like ourselves in his own right. A guy who really likes to sweat it out in Grand Arena, come what may. It's Solobass15. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, it's awesome to have you. It's really overdue because we've gotten Zareth. We had Fatal and more or less seduced him into regular membership here.
We borrowed Fatal and then didn't give him back.
I want us to do Gambit again. It's
fair.
But anyway, this is a special edition indeed, because it is, I think, the very first time we've had the full crew and a guest all on video. So if you're used to listening to the podcast only, check out the video file wherever you're listening to it on YouTube, Spotify, wherever.
Make sure you look at this shit. Video. This took him a long time.
It took a while for us to get to the point of being able to start this stream. Yeah,
it took us like an extra hour to troubleshoot all this. So don't even bother looking at the video.
You make sure you go watch this. You take all of this in because it took him a long.
I know it all looks very amateurish the way everybody's boxes are set up, but are they not there? I ask you, folks in the YouTube comments, are they not there?
Well done, Tess.
Thank you.
But is there volume? Can everybody hear everybody?
Yes, I think so. The trick is trying not to have it say double, so I'm going to try and mute my mic when I'm not talking specifically. You guys don't need to worry about that, but that's what I'm going to do. Anyways, guys, we actually have a good bit of stuff to get into, and I don't want us to lose any more time on it, but first section, welcome to Solobass. First question for you, sir. As an interview item, what is keeping you engaged with the game these days? Do you have any pet projects you're working on?
We're kind of at the quiet period of the game right now, right? But so my main project is just make sure everybody's G13. I think I have 4 left. That poor little Ugnaught, I haven't applied like G13 to the last 8 people on my roster. Just, who the hell cares about them? And so I decided to change that and get everybody G13 before something actually happens.
Very fair. Very fair. By the way, it occurs to me that I'm going to try and see if I can do this like Brady Bunch style. I didn't actually identify everybody on camera. Immediately above me is Dagger. Right over there in the middle top is Fatal. Of course, you know him. You may not know the face of Sasha Aisha, but that's him up there in the top right. We've got Solo there in the bottom middle, and then in the bottom right corner there is, of course, TJ, who you might actually not recognize with a shirt on because you're accustomed to otherwise seeing oiled biceps on screen when he would be on with Heinze. But yes. God, I'm excited to have you all on camera. All right.
Also, chair spinning. Chair spinning is also involved sometimes. That's fine. Another story.
Fair.
Many talents.
Fair. All right. You were talking about how you just finished, or you're trying to wrap up taking everything up to Gear 13. I just recently did that myself, and I hated the feeling, but I'm glad it's behind me. It's behind me.
Follow up on that for you, Solo. That decision to take everything up to Gear 13. How much of that is about like just the pure sort of collector aspect of, hey, I've got to catch them all, versus the game now showing like CG moving a bit in a direction of trying to sort of draw or extract some relevance with whether it's like a Datacron or the possibility of throwing an Omicron on some legacy character?
It is pure OCD of these guys are shiny. These guys aren't. Yeah. Let's change that.
Must push button. Push button. Yeah, I hear you.
Very fair. Yeah, and of course, guys, I'll read off the questions, but if anything you want to ask Solo along the way while I'm going, anything that jumps up, of course, everybody.
I got one for you, Solo.
Yeah.
You talked about it before. You talked about your sweet spot. I'm gonna do air quotes on it. Your sweet spot of where you want to be in the GAC. Do you feel like you're still there? Where you want to be at, not too high, because you're like kind of like the porridge, right? You want it just right of where you try to stay at. And I know sometimes you feel like you've increased too far, and then you'll kind of push back, throttle back a little bit on it. Do you feel like that's still happening that way?
I am still doing that. I like to sit in that 200 to 100 zone. It's that area where people don't check your history, so I don't have to change my defense that often. But they're still good enough that you have to play well. I took a week off, like a full week off last GAC season, just so I could do other things for no other reason than I was distracted. And so I need to climb back to that area because apparently when you lose all three in the first week of a GAC, you drop to Kyber 2 when you're at rank 100. That's a good thing to remember.
Dagger confirms this is true.
Your mic is muted there, Dagger. Your mic's muted, Dagger.
Yeah, I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, okay. Good talk.
Yeah, I did avoid Kyber 2, so I'm not quite as low as Dagger. But
no one is as low as Dagger. I can't use the F-bomb,
and also
the game. Dagger's low.
Yeah, no. So like back before I had to make my climb out of Bronzium 4, I was asking TJ this on just like a random Tuesday. I was like, I was like 144 to start this week. I lost 3, and I'm at like 807.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah. No, I had to get a cat out of the room because apparently I got locked in here with a cat.
Yep. Not good.
Nope.
All right. Next question here. What specific change, add, remove would you like to make to improve the game?
Oh, I'd like to remove Omicrons on legacy characters. I literally just talked about that for 20 minutes last night. So let me go with something different. A long time ago, TW was talked about being changed, and they talked about bringing in the TB map, like a version of the TB map, not the exact TB map, to create more zones and create different paths. If I had to make one change, I would do something like that.
All right. Dig that. Yep.
I think that's a common sentiment from at least most of us here who are in more endgame guilds, that TW needs, please God, something.
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Yeah, I always like to get that one out of a guest. How is new fatherhood treating you? When can we expect to see Wii Solo climbing the ranks here?
Oh, good Lord. Hopefully Wii Solo stays asleep for all of this. Normally he wouldn't wake up during this, but it took Tass so long to set up that we might hit his window.
Graduated preschool. Graduated preschool.
Yeah, right. The kid actually just graduated from college, and we started.
He's still working on your box, so it's cool.
Yeah,
I deserve this. It was like a solid 40 minutes of setup. I feel terrible, but
Oh no, new fatherhood's great. I will give a hint to anyone out there thinking about having kids. If you're married to an accountant, it is not a great time to have a 7-month-old because you are in charge of everything. But other than that, no, I'm happy. I'm thrilled.
Fantastic, man. Guys, those are the questions I had spun up. Anybody else here on the regular panel got something they want to ask for the interview portion here on Solo?
Oh man, I was just going to ask, how much Star Wars paraphernalia did you put in this kid's room?
Oh man, so his bedroom is my favorite.
Just lit up
right now.
Yeah.
So there's a picture on Gambit of his room. So he's got, it's probably about 2 feet wide and 2 feet tall, and it's a copy of a wooden cutout of Death Star 2 with his name on it. and it's got the Urabesh for his name underneath it. And then he's got on the wall that his crib is on, there's this website where you send in a picture and it turns it into peel and stick wallpaper. So he's got the Forest Moon of Endor with Wicket holding a little spear on the wall. So
That's precious.
And then he has an R2-D2 hanging up on the wall over his changing table right now.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm super jealous. I ask everyone that because my significant other at the time nixed every cool idea I had regarding that. So.
Yeah. No, she wanted to do dinosaurs, and I was like, well, I like dinosaurs. We're going to include them as well. Don't get me wrong.
Dinosaurs in Star Wars. There's absolutely dinosaurs in Star Wars. Don't judge.
Basically,
there are kind of dinosaurs in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Clone Wars had a couple. Dinosaur-ish. No, that's awesome, though.
Oh, yeah. I know. I love the room. And I was allowed to do it, which honestly shocked me. I shot my shot, and she's like, is that going to make you happy if everything else I do? And I was like, yes. And there we go. And she remains...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, she retains creative control over everything else. But I got that.
Have you used the kit as an excuse to purchase anything yet? Like Star Wars related?
Well, you can see right behind me, there's a UCS TIE Interceptor that got built.
I fucking hate you. God damn it.
So there's that. Though, speaking of dinosaurs, to keep my wife happy, Lego just announced a Jurassic World set where it's a 3-foot long T-Rex skeleton. So that's going to be the next on the list for his room. You know, we're going to put it on a shelf in the room, obviously.
Are you going to put it in a glass sealed box where they cannot topple it over?
Right. That's because it's their room with your stuff.
It's going to be put right near the ceiling, so he can't actually reach it for.
You gotta go run into their room for your stuff. Did you break my stuff? I mean, your stuff. Don't mess with my stuff. I mean, my stuff.
Well,
dude, that's awesome.
Yes, it is a blessing, and the Star Wars addiction must start early. So I'm glad.
Well, yeah,
glad we're on the right path from the jump.
Oh yeah. You got to do put the Clone Wars on and just like let it run on the TV. Yeah, that's what I do.
Fair.
You will think Ahsoka is your older sister. That is how this is going to work.
All right. Well, guys, first, thanks for that, Solo. Good to have folks get to know you. Of course, anybody that's been watching Swugga streams for years here already knows you as a content creator. We'll be sure to plug you at the end, though. Get the word out there for anybody who's not already a fan, which you should be.
Yeah.
Okay, next section, folks. Meta-analysis. Now, this is an open floor from here on out for the rest of the show, guys. So speak your minds, answer as you like, follow up as you like. But yeah, first item, Set 18 Datacrons. Now that they're expired, which counters and or defenses should be reconsidered? Like, for example, Lord Vader Ufus. We had the Grand Inquisitor Cron, which basically meant among the many things you might use to counter it on defense, you won't be using Malgus because you don't want to do fear, but that's no longer a factor. So on and so forth. What else are you guys thinking about? What did you if you've taken a look at it yet, what are you thinking? Yeah, I'm rotating this off, or I'm not trying this on offense anymore. Anything jumped out in your early planning?
Well, first off, you missed a fear factor pun.
I didn't really watch Fear Factor, so that tracks.
Dengar. Dengar is the first one that popped into my head.
Okay, yep. Not
Also
really a
the
big
Balin
factor
Khan.
in threes in my experience, but it definitely I'll miss it.
And the Balin Kron, not for the actual Balin level 9, but just, the 230% off.
Yeah.
It was a fatty. It was.
Yeah. But this is a set I didn't mind seeing go. I know we've talked before about how some sets I'm like, I'm sad to see some of those go. Anything UFU related, because they're so pervasive in the game, I'm usually not too upset to see them rotate out.
And dark side bulk. I don't know. See, it's interesting. The dark side bulk rotated out, but how much does that really matter when you can achieve quite a bit of the same effect just through the stats here on the new set 20?
Especially in threes.
Yeah, even better still in threes. Yeah.
I think it's only just because it was double statted for the bulk. So it was an easy
Mm-hmm.
push, like the Malguses or things like that, where like they're actually going to take an effort for it. So
In
that'll be the
DB3
same thing.
though, like we're still early into farming this new set, but in DB3 because bulk is only 45 per, you can kind of, if you go fishing for it, you can kind of recreate it in the aggregate with the new set. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Damn cheap though, Fatal. So to be fair, I don't want to. So
I mean,
it was.
I haven't got any either. So believe me, I know. But
That's what I mean, right? For that set, it was a layup for you to get it, right? You even pulled 20% or something like that. You just pull quadruple, whatever it's going to be for the numbers. So it's like it was an easy layup for those teams that relied on the bulk of things. Like the Treyas were going to love this, right? The Malguses were going to love this. Anything that was going to hold over the weight because they were just bulky and could outlast you. It was a big setting for that. But I agreed. Yes, you can absolutely with this one. I agree. You can absolutely push that, but now you can just get stat specific, right? So if you want to push it high health because you want your Bane to make sure he's going to last or whatever, it's going to hold true that way.
my only bulky set 20 cron so far has been a GG staff cron, and I'm looking at 60 health. Like, how much do I really care about my Grievous squad? What if this was actually just a really, really complicated stat cron?
My Snapcron had it's like 50 something percent health on it, and then the rest of it went split between crit damage and armor penetration. And just like getting that couple rerolls going my way for health makes it prohibitively expensive for me to really go after that one right now. So I'm actually pretty happy with that, right? Big chunk of health, some crit damage, some armor penetration. Tough to feel bad about it.
Oh, you make me sad. I just looked at my Snapcron and it's very bad.
I
got a snap
can't
cron.
even tell you what my stat cron is right
Yeah,
now.
listen, I could tell you I have a snap card and any of
Yeah,
the stuff on it. It's like I don't know, but I got one.
No, I just looked at it. I'm like, oh yeah, buffs on basic. Is it DI on level 6? Like 6% health? Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah,
So, like going back to that question and thinking about the end of the season 18 Datacrons, or set 18. I think the lack of or the end of Star Killer and him being such a versatile menace is really going to be felt. I thought it was great to see the community deploy him in a number of cool ways defensively. Like there were some really creative combos. Obviously, there was the LV Super Team in fives, but there were quite a few like three combos that were great. So I'm actually sad to see that Predator kind of come off the field for this 3v3 season. One thing that it actually kind of ran through my mind, and this is probably me projecting myself onto others too much, but I kept thinking like I'd gone into the last 8 weeks of GAC thinking about where have they deployed their Star Killer and how am I going to try and address that. So I've kind of deeply ingrained in myself this oh god, I see Star Killer, make sure I don't get hard stopped on it because it
he
can
was an easy
surprise me.
button. He definitely was.
Yeah,
an easy
he was
button.
fantastic, right? And could be like an
He
easy button
reminds
on
me.
offense.
But he reminded me of like the old Darth Vader. It was so much fun if you used him or wherever you put him. It has such a great effect, right? Like the old Darth Vader Datacron was so much fun to use because you were literally going to solo a JMK or whatever it was. He had that. He had that just auto win setup. It was going to be strong. Yes, on defense, Super LV was disgusting. Where he went
Yeah,
and
it
did
was
things. So I
fantastic.
agree. Yeah.
And other three ones were too, which is why one of the considerations I had, and I probably won't do it this week, but maybe I will, is I may just put some random Star Killer combo. Like I was thinking, what if I did Crew, Dark Ray, and Star Killer bottom front? And somebody's going to look at it and think it's terrifying as hell. It's probably decent, but you're going to get somebody to spend their JMK on it or something.
Yeah.
Just because there's this sense that it was higher on the food chain. and maybe people are still traumatized into believing it is. I think it's still like a very viable. I mean, it'd be good to hear Fatal talk about this, but like it feels really good still as an option against like just the EPMJ SK if you have the turn order as Fatal had optimized it. Taking on a Ray, Ben, Ezra still feels very doable. So it's got its offensive uses, but I'm going to miss its defensive presence.
Yeah, I mean, not to tee you up twice, Fatal, but are you and any of you who've more or less taken on Fatal's turn order monitoring for your EP Star Killer, have you retained that here for the first week? Or did you move off it when, set 18 was binned?
I'll keep running it as long as people keep thinking that Ray Ezra is a good idea. So,
okay.
I imagine for the foreseeable future, it'll stay on.
Dig it. Okay, yeah. No reason why you see set 18 expiring and getting in the way of that. Nice.
I honestly to me.
You go ahead, Fatal.
18 and 19 to me kind of felt like the closest that we've been in a while to just like a vanilla meta. And so obviously there were some impacts and some twists, but for the most part, I don't think anyone is really doing like a full defense bulk array, right? Like that's like the only thing that comes to mind for me where it's like maybe I start to get worried in that case.
Even if you did, even at that level, that would take something extraordinary. That would push into the Sasha, even where you're at, Fatal. That to me, and without the proper set to align that with, right? There's no heavy defense right now. So there's nothing to kind of modify what you're saying. I don't see how what you're holding isn't going to work because there's nothing to attain that level of what you would need to truly make a difference. There's just not.
As long as like you're compensating with at least some reasonable amount of thickness on your dark side, because we don't have the dark side thick anymore. I don't think it's fully needed, but like I feel better if my EPMJ Star Killer has some health stats or some protection stats if it doesn't have a level 3 thick, and it has no defense. And it may just be it takes me longer than it should to cut through that ray, but I worry about losing either EP or MJ on like a whirlwind.
Yeah. How about you, Solo? Anything shaken up for you now that set 18's gone? Anything you were relying on, like from set 18 or
Yeah, the only thing I quote unquote relied on was the Star Killer Cron for the Ray-Ban Ezra. Everybody and their mother sets that. But I kind of agree with what Fatal said. Of a lot of set 18 and even set 19 just kind of feels, I don't want to say filler crons because Star Killer Cron was fun, but there's nothing that I sit here and I say, oh man, I really wish I had this cron back.
Yeah, no, I think vanilla was the right word for it because it kind of just enhanced what these teams were already kind of about with some cool twists, but we've definitely had metas that were more of like a sharp 90-degree turn for a few months, and I take the point. I take the point from both of you. That's fair. All right, next item here. Set 20 datacrons, of course. So, which crons are you guys excited to try? How do you expect to use them? Sana, Mercenary Hunter, if you wailed for it, I guess. Nest. Who else you guys got and why? What are you cooking?
Okay. Bam Sana. I mean, I feel like everybody's going to say that, but
that's fine. You can take the low-hanging fruit. That is your privilege as a guest. So go for
it. You guys figure out something different. Bam Sana is just fun.
You think it's got legs in I know people were saying that was taking on Leia just fine in 5s here in this last week, but you think that's got legs in 3s? Because again, this conversation is about what we're doing here in this upcoming week. So,
I 3-manned a Leia team with it a bunch of times. So if it's working 3v5, it should work 3v3.
Wow, that's incredible.
Is that with Dash is the third?
Yeah, tell us about it. Let's assume that somebody listening isn't familiar with that. What's the deal with this counter?
It's basically Bam faster and dash, and Bam goes into birds, dash goes next because he's one speed slower. And I mean, the AoE is 15 instances of damage right there. There's 15 birds, and Sana's ramping up the offense. So goodbye GL.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's that one's going to be a fun one, and well, we'll see what it ends up killing. Everybody likes to set Leia on defense. They kind of stopped when Glad first came out, but in 3v3 now that C Bane or you don't even need Bane against some of these C comps, just dumpster fires the team.
Fair.
The last 3v3, I saw Leia on defense all 3 times. So I fully expect to try Bam against the Leia that's inevitably sitting in the back that people are going to think they're trapping you with, even though everybody's doing it.
Is that Bam lead with the Sonicron? Or is that...
Yeah, it's Bam lead.
And I'm assuming that's 25% turn meter level 3 long tech 6. I
have both level 3s, the 2%. Because in 5v5, I found the 2% much better, but in 3v3, I'm guessing 25% is probably better.
Okay. Nice. Dagger, how about you? What are you excited about?
Man, I was really excited to talk about how good Cad Bane was until I used Embo like twice in Arena and he started one-shotting people.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mob Enforcer's dead. That Crown, that level 9 is like not good. I thought Cad Bane would be better, and it is. But man, Embo double tapping is not okay. Like, I didn't realize how fast he would stack up his damage with all the mastery scaling. And yeah. Just in Arena, he's just like he like just shoots and then just casual 80k, 120k. And
It sounds like an apply to 3s though.
He's a monster. Right. I was about to say he sounds like a monster, but I was going to say it's like for my buck, I'm thinking that out of all my Hutt Cartel crons, whichever one is the best stat stick for your main trio, that's just what's going to go down.
You're right on 5s. I don't doubt 5s.
Cad Bane might actually be usable under like a boss lead with all the mass assists.
Could be.
Because he does do debuffs, which does heal the team. So I think you might find some use for that Kron. As far as 3v3 uses, the only downside I have is that, like, how good is... Like, HK is probably going to be good, obviously. Like, that's another low-hanging fruit. Now with DR pulled off of Malgus for most people... Well, I shouldn't say most people. I think a lot of people will have pulled Malgus off defense. But the Mission Vow Datacron might be better. I mean, I don't know what it does. I don't actually know what the level 9 does. Didn't look at it.
It dies immediately, so it doesn't do anything.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's not like
it literally leaves you a sad boy because you put the Mission Valcron on no mission.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know what the level 9 did. I just knew that I just saw that she had one and didn't look. I was like, oh, she has level 9. Buddy. She gets extra offense. She shares that.
Yeah, you would only use this if you're not doing the Zalbar Omicron.
All right. Yeah. Never mind.
No. Fair. Yeah. That's actually a fair observation. I think we're coming across looking at this that a good number of these level 9s have more oomph in 5s than in 3s. I talked about this before. Sorry?
BT1's going to be good in 3s.
Do you think so? Because my read on this in general is that it I don't know, it feels more like for the matchups that I enjoy doing it with, like I don't really need armor shred to win what I'm gonna win. You know what I'm saying? So how much where you think this is really gonna shine? You think this is gonna be anti-Java effective or?
Well, for me it's more about the expose, but sure.
Okay. That's
like,
true. We already get exposed, so doubling into it is fine. That's fair.
Yeah, any amount of extra damage is good, especially for that Afra team, because the times it really loses is when it can't kill stuff.
That Kron is a TM train, so I think Dagger's onto it. The piece that makes it so good, though, is the fact that a lot of these tie together and they stack. So if you're stacking the right setup with your 6, with your 3, they're going to go bonkers because there's so many debuffs that are passing around. There's the TM level 6, and you're doing specials and getting TM. So it's literally passing it all
Yeah,
around.
so
And what
you
you're
would
doing.
also be running
And
the
if you're
15% level 3. Yeah.
That's what I mean, right? And you have offensive stacks that you get to put on the cron itself too. So to me, I think Dagger's right. You only have so many characters, and if they're blazing fast and they're just wrapping around you anyway, that's just going to add in.
Forget. So we've had this cron, not necessarily for BT1, on like 8 different characters, and we always say it's going to be good, and it's not going to be good. But BT1's a little different because he takes multiple turns at the same time, basically. So
Yep.
I forget though. Is it AoE armor shred application? Like he opens up with his AoE, and the way it reads is the entire team gets armor shredded.
And then the second AoE that he takes the very right afterwards basically exposes everyone.
Whenever BT1 damages an enemy with a special ability, and the enemy doesn't have armor shred, inflict armor shred for the rest of the battle. So AoEs apply.
Right. So first turn, you armor shred the entire team, which I think that can't be minimized, right?
All right. When you say it like that, fair. It is tough to diminish
especially if you lead with his third. Especially if you lead with his third, just to apply the armor shred, so his second gets to hit into armor shred.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay, fine. Don't do that then. I'm just trying to think of how to maximize the armor shred damage. But yeah,
the way to maximize it is to make BT1 fastest over 000, which I would argue you should already be doing anyway. But by doing that, you pick up the armor shred, and then he'll still cycle his turn meter. BT or 000 will call the assist, which if you have the 33 Omicrons, you got all the extra goodies anyway. You cash in the basic, which is the most powerful move on the armor shred, and then you get to options select between do I want more AoEs or do I want other basic, or I feel like that will flow fine. Because BT1's first special gives him turn meter and his second one doesn't. So that's why I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, technically, you're also still getting yourself turn meter if you've built the cron up for that too, though, Fatal. So just to be fair, it's literally a TM train. This is one of the favorite TM trains I think we'll see.
Yeah, and then Cal Kestis is like the only other one that like caught my eye for 3v3 specifically. But I think that we've already had this one where it's just he doubles his stacks or something.
Yeah, whenever
it
Jedi
might be
Cal...
interesting to try to have for defense, but I don't know if that's scopy.
His AI is so.
I think it's a Merc level 6 is kind of like
Well, isn't I'm sure you've looked at it at least to some degree, Fatal. Isn't the AI for Jedi Cal just going to be super dumb?
Yeah, but that's effectively what this is trying to solve for is your Cal 99% of the time is just going to keep ramming the AoE, but what this means is that even if the AI doesn't weave effectively, it'll still get to 30 stacks decently fast, is more or less what it's trying to say.
And then it will make the chop if it gets to the 30.
Yes, it does make the chop if it gets to 30. I've seen it do windmill stands, but rarely enough that it's not even worth assuming that it's possible. And, you might be thinking, oh well, maybe if someone's debuffed, no. You might be thinking, well, maybe it's coded as a heal. No,
I
don't
was
know why it
thinking
doesn't.
that, yeah.
Yeah, no.
I
don't know why it does or doesn't do what it does or doesn't do, but that when I look at this cron, obviously you could just use Cal on offense and reap the benefits way more. I'm not saying you should post your Cal on defense, but if we're talking impacts, it does give defense access to 30 faster.
How often or how much does the 10% defense stacking on buffs matter? Probably less than 3s.
Well,
does that move the needle for defensive viability, just making him harder to kill?
I don't know if I know what you're referring to. Is it like the
he's saying here, I don't know if you can see it on screen because the text is small, but it's saying whenever Jedi Cal gains a buff, he gains 10% defense, stacking max 100% until the end of battle. It's the last clause on the level 9.
If we're talking if I'm actually taking this seriously, I'm posting something like JML plus Barris plus JCal, and you're gonna stack lessons. Maybe you'll get F-looks. It'll stack up decently fast, but I'm not jaw on the floor about it because honestly, if you get to 30, you're probably blocking dash anyway, and I feel like the defense won't stop anything higher than dash. It'll just maybe be annoying for dash. So I'm not wowed over it. I'm obviously never going to complain about defense, but there are plenty of Jedi killers these days.
It's just a 2-stack auto slice that made it so good. for the piece. It was just made it stupid dumb to make it quick in. Uh, but if every time I ever remember doing it, even when they had that on there, it just doesn't play it like you'd want it to play it, and it becomes almost feel like a waste. I wouldn't disagree, Fatal, if you're doing it something like a JML, so it's like the right spot to have it, because obviously there's also protection that's built into the cron too, right? So it's not hard to roll the protection stats, and then you're building a JML cron anyway, and anything else is stacking towards that. So to your point, you could almost set it that way, just because even with the E-Flux, it's going to hit hella hard, and that's going to be great. But it also gives you the ability and affords it up. And I think the last time we had this, it was basically like the 2-tap Malgus perfect 65 or 57 or whatever it was, easy banners, because it was just an easy tap. And if you need to get out jail free, this was a quick 2-tap to get you in and out, just because you couldn't fear them, you couldn't stack them. So it's like it was an auto setup to almost anything you needed to get rid of. It was your solution right there.
Yeah, it was like Bastila, Cal plus a tank. And you were just like cheesing Malgus.
Yeah, it was just like super. And this is when Malgus had a cron, right? If I remember right, something like that. And then like he just came out and then like nullified all of that stuff.
Yeah. So might see less Leia, might see less Malgus. That's basically kind of what this means.
Well, we do, Malgus on defense still might be a thing because you don't have the previous Jedi crown. I guess you have this.
Tank Revive is back too. So we still do have Tank Revive.
Without
you still got BSF or Set.
BSF and Malik. I mean, Malgus, BSF, Malik. The point is, the only thing I was going to say, I'll follow up right on me, Dagger, but the level 3, we have Tank Revive, Dark Side Tank Revive.
Yeah.
So, like that superior level 3 is still there, and no Jedi crown from Set 18. Okay, go.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, the only thing I'll push back on the tank crown is that if you ever have a second tank on that team, you can just proc it there, then use the thing to blow up Malgus.
Yep.
Especially with something like Set that's not particularly
you can
good.
game around it.
You would have to absolutely
what I was
do
going
like
to say is
BSF.
losing Darth Revan, presumably, to this like mission Zalbar team means you're looking at something like BSF Talon, BSF SAS, unless you want that second tank to let them try to game around it. I just feel like you're losing a little bit of the damage potency. Like, you're losing a bit of the damage, the actual ability to win the fight. So that's why I don't think it's quite as relevant. The tank revive specifically, I mean. Obviously, if Malgus is the only tank, that probably, I don't know if it hard stops it. But man, I remember killing a Malgus and having it come back and being like, I don't know how many armor shreds this is going to take, but I don't want to find out.
I would say you could build an effective Malgus Cron still, to what Fatal said. Just thinking about 50-60% health and stacking that on a tank revive, that is not no joke.
It's literally
that
what I've been
back.
trying to work on, is one doing exactly that.
Doing things like that, just like the protection towards JML, that's a huge win. Because if you're at the 220 or something like that, it's usually you're slapping somebody in the face with the Malgus, and it's going to delete somebody.
Yeah, so under the working theory of like, if you can proc the tank revive on a non-Malgus character, then blow up Malgus, do you put Malik on this team? Or do you just try and single tank it?
Single tank it.
I am not scared of any Malgus team that doesn't have Malik or DR.
Or so you're saying it has to be BSF Malik, or you're just like, eh?
Or Malik Talon at the very least, but if he's saying if it isn't one or the other,
you need one or the other. If there's no fear, that team just doesn't scare me.
Yeah, I was more thinking that team would be moved more towards offense now that DR is being pulled off it, because I feel like DR is actually super important to its actual defensive viability.
It does mess it up when you're doing that. That double piece, especially where everybody's at right now. That's usually a hard stop.
Yeah.
Fair. Well, let's move to you, Fatal. Any particular cron you're excited about for 3s? Look at the wince. You saw that wince?
So, the Nest is a weird one to me because, when Nest Cron was around last time, it had like a pretty huge splash, and like there's some minor, but I think actually kind of key differences that might change how it feels. Like, I think the way that it used to work is that when Nest took a turn, she counted every turn that had happened, and she just had that until her next turn. Now she just stacks offense until she takes a turn, and then it resets. So the nest that we knew before that could just like go full god mode is not actually here. That
Why? It's the level 6. That's what
It also
people get it
misses the
confused.
attacker, but yeah.
That level
But
6 with the Nestcron, because she would assist off of herself. So it would attack and then attack again. And every time it was doing that, that level 6 with Nest is what made the menace.
but
Yes, it's not.
the new
She's still,
9 has more assists, so like yes, you lose attacker, but I wasn't actually too hollow on that aspect of it. It was just like slightly different and like slightly worse, but like still pretty solid. But it's just a fact of the matter that like we're almost into like the range of like old classic nests where it's like, no, your nest should be like +0 speed, brother.
Right.
You know, like so in that respect, like she's not a late game scaling threat anymore. That I was pretty high when I first saw the Datacron set, but like the moment that I actually like pulled up the old one to like do the actual like where's Waldo difference comparison, it's like, yeah, it's not really worth
I
being
still think it's got viability. I still think
Well,
you're right. Because
does the-
especially with evasion,
Does the third
Right.
clause not stack infinitely
no. It,
whenever she inflicts a debuff?
as I remember,
Yeah, she gains the crit damage, but not. He's saying
But the crit
he's
damage
talking
stacks-
about the last clause where it says she's
Yeah.
gaining stacking offense until the end of her turn.
Yeah, I was thinking about the stacking crit damage every time she basically uses a basic, which is assisting on everyone's turn, right? So on basic, she inflicts a debuff. Expose.
Yeah, she will stack some, but she will still stack way the fuck less.
I mean,
She used to get 10% damage increase for every enemy turn taken ever, and now she gets a 5% offense, and she gets it immediately. She doesn't have to take a turn to bank that, but the moment that she takes a turn, she loses it. Is what I'm saying. So
Gotcha.
you could be 50 Starkiller turns into a match, and Nest takes a turn, and she's like, "Okay, motherfucker, it's 500 damage." That's not going to happen here necessarily. And more importantly, if she gets, let's say, tenacity down into stun or whatever, all of the stacks that she had built up are just going to get taken away with no cash out. So it's like, the wording looks very similar, but I think if you actually like stop and think through the moment to moment, yeah, I do actually think that it is going to be a decently weaker. I'm not saying that it won't have any use anywhere, but I don't know if I'm super bullish on Ray Nest at the moment. It's kind of where I'm at.
Do you think Ray Nest is better than Ray Ezra? Because I know that you don't think Ray Ezra is particularly
Took the
good.
words right out of my mouth. Yeah, not being a big fan of that yourself. What do you see yourself doing then?
I've never posted Ray Ezra once outside of his first week, and I was in it for the first week shock value. No, I'll be posting Ray L3 Watt until people either pay up Omicron Mets or something changes. But for the time being, I'm just content to punish sinners.
That's right. Apply your barrel toss.
He's doing the Lord's work.
PSA.
Yeah, I love that so much.
That's right.
Hey up, you fucks.
That's right. All right. How about you, Sasha? Any particular Kron you're looking forward to, especially here for threes?
You know, I'm curious about the smugglers, but we've covered that ground pretty well. One thing that we just touched on that I'll go back to, as I was thinking about the move from 5s to 3s, and with the new season of Datacrons, like I'm not particularly impressed with the factions we've got for season 20 on the data, or set 20 on the Datacrons, and I was looking at all the Hut Cartel options, and I thought those were pretty interesting in 5s for Java. But then when I looked at all the Hut Cartel options for 3 in Java, and I had like looking at every possible combination, and what I came out thinking was my best bet probably for Java out of all the Hut Cartel options is either Smuggler or Mercenary, and it's probably Smuggler. And like I just was, what's
I
that?
literally had that question lined up for after everyone talks about it, because I built a Smuggler Cron with like 100% tenacity for my draft.
And you know, I was just looking at it, and part of this is, you know, it's maybe my theory crafting will be off, but as I looked at it, it's just you miss the sort of parts of the comp that would really take advantage of either the ramping offense or the 9 or something else. It's really hard to trade off Bausch. It's really hard to lose Chrysanthemum. So that was one thing that, and we could certainly spend some time on that. I'm also curious to see, like, I don't know if this will play as much at like the high level competitive end, but I would imagine across GAC generally, there are going to be some rough moments going against the droid level 6, the long text droid 6. That thing packs a punch. And like, particularly when you've got some ramping dynamics there with like a Grievous and others, I think it can be pretty cool. I don't know that it'll have a place in our matches, but it's one that I just kind of like theoretically a bunch. I was not super impressed with the potential for Nest, but maybe it's because it's not as new anymore. I think, like Fiddle described, I went back and I took a look at the prior Nest Cron, tried to compensate a little bit for the fact that it's nerfed a little on the 9, but it's just not the same 6 in attacker. I actually think in deploying Nest across a 3v3D in my sort of competition right now, I would think of using Nest basically as a slightly better version of the way I would normally think of Nest, is like, well, I've got one space in that comp and I really don't want troopers to take it. Or it's not enough to reinvent a squad sufficiently to carry the day. So those were some of my thoughts.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, maybe just a Giga Nest Bros team on defense. Old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll say one thing before we move off Nest. The one place I was thinking about putting Nest, I think I put her there in last season, is I definitely looked at using the Nest Cron under Ahsoka. And, it's like you want to get creative with your Fulcrum and you want Ezra to go wherever. I don't know. But then, you throw Nest with a GL tank that's taunting a whole bunch and goes very often. Yeah, that added a little bit, but that was the only thing that was tempting. I probably won't do it. For those of you that I'm facing this week that are listening to this, don't do it to me. But yeah.
Very fair.
Yeah, I was just saying one thing I do know for Nest, that she will find a place on my board at least, because we've talked a lot about what's the worst team on the board, and I'm pretty sure Nest +2 is better than some of the worst some of the other teams we could set. So yeah, I expect to find a use for her somewhere all season.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, TJ, let's get you in here. What's a cron you're looking forward to the most?
The one I want to play with is the old school Monster Dash 1, because it can be flexed any which way. But the bonus turn on the stuns, to me, has merit. Just thinking the old Dash on Chewie, start go, and they're just flexing off of one another. And then if you were to do death on bonus turn is great, but also adding in the evasion, so you can't mess with them necessarily, and there's guard to tie it in as well. The pieces of things like that, there are a lot more smugglers than people take account for. It's the same thing when there's a lot more scoundrels and there's a lot more good smugglers. And since there's only 3 people to a team, that can actually turn the entire fight. I'll still go back to Sasha and what he did to me, but just putting in one piece of the puzzle, and then also getting to start with 25% turn meter or any of those things, gets you in the front and then keeps you there. And then you're still trying to kill this team. And if they're cleansing themselves like Quill IG, or if you can do a whole bunch of things with these crons that are going to mess with the fight. And unless you're accounting for that or stopping it, it has merit to be that 15th team. And that's the one that you can't kill. So to the point of what Dagger just said, the last time I have to deal with the Super Nest, well, fuck. And there you go. So it's just those things where it's like, you can pull all the resources that you're going to need to kill something. In 5s, not so much. Fatal's talked about it. Everybody's talked about it. In 3s, you're still in the Wild West because there's 15 teams. That's a lot of things you can add, where I can add 15 smugglers to each team and then give some evasion. And that changes the context of the fight and what you have to do.
Fair. Very fair.
I know this doesn't matter a lot, and it's 5v5 applicable,
Hmm.
but I do think the dash con would be really fun if you did like Leia, R2, dash Han Chewie. Just like with all the stuns. I think that'd be kind of fun. I don't know if it'd be good, but it looks like it'd be fun. But then you lose like the Sana thing. Like, I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying like stun on basic from R2. Like, I don't know.
The dash and like dash level 9 and the bonus turn when they defeat. I ran into one of those. It was the last week of fives. Aesop set a dash with the crons being brand new, but it was dash Han Chewie and Hondo and some fifth. And I brought my gas 50 first, and my entire squad. So gas was sat immediately. Then he killed like he sacrificed one of the other clones, killed two of the other clones. Gas gets back up, it gets completely spanked down. It was really impressive how quickly they moved. And so yeah, I have one of those crons now.
That's what I'm saying,
was-
right? It's like the thought is an actual menace, and people forget, and then the offense and the stats that go into it that make Dash the danger that he is. And most people have a Relic 9 Dash just hanging around. So that dude will beat the shit out of you. And to your point, to me, what's crazy was like, why wasn't that Quill IG right on that team? Because just another stun and another pass back of cleansing. And it's like, now I don't get to hit you for doing the evasion side. So that's what I'm saying. It's like getting to play with the smuggler pieces in threes is great because there's only 3 slots. And you can't kill that character and you time out or something like that. Solo talked about it too when we're doing when he was doing the podcast about the mini evasion, right? If you put those right things in there, L3 is going to be a phenomenal one too, I think, where it's going to really piss people off because she's already got a high stack, right? And people usually have a pretty good L3, especially what we're facing. And if she's in there just disrupting you and you can't hit her, and then she continues to just cleanse the team, it's like, man, this is a pain in the ass.
Fair. I mean, for my part, I mean, a lot of the ones that have already been discussed were high on my list. I wonder if you might find a use for Kira level 9.
It reads really good on paper.
It really does look good.
It does. I mean, certainly if you don't have the... I mean, you're not really going to use it in threes, though. Yeah, you're not
Oh,
going
what
to use
about Kira
it.
Vandor Nest?
Yeah, but then if you're
Then you're gonna
concentrating
use
those two, I'd rather have the Neskron, you know?
I mean, I guess that's fair. I'm just thinking like if Fatal's a little bit sour, I mean not sour, but a little lower on the Nestcron, maybe try the Kiracron. I don't know.
All right, that's fair.
I do
It's
like
another
those
reminder.
level 9s, man.
We need more sources of Soldier of Fortune. It gets sprinkled around here or there, and I know it's coming, but like in this transitional moment, it's like, is Balin my lead? No, all right.
I think that what Solo said makes a perfect sense to me. They did so much with bounty hunters. They really need to tie this in on mercenary. They did all of that work and they overhauled all of the bounty hunters to get payouts, right? And it was super cool. They really need to stack this and lean into it. If they're going to do old school character Omicrons, do the same shit to our mercenary people and then give them the ability to get those stacks of soldiers. That doesn't have to be the lead or whatever else like that. Because that would be a great, to me, low hanging fruit of just adding that stack in there.
Fair.
I'm okay. I totally agree. They need to do that. I'm okay if they stack rank that a little bit below refreshing the TW and GAC boards and stopping the leak of erodiums into Kyber 1. But, like, hey, it's a long list. So,
Yeah, just give
and there's a
Cad
lot of good
Bane
they do. I don't mean that pure shit. Because I love a lot of what CG produces. But, yeah.
Yeah, you just need to give people like Cad Bane or L3 and Omicron.
Fair.
I mean, like, if you just go sort by the mercenary faction, there's a lot of just pretty good, like, young Lando, young Han. Like, I'm not saying these characters are lighting the world on fire, but they're already, what I would say, they're close. Because I know, like, Fatal, maybe it wasn't Fatal. I know Sasha's used both of those, especially young Lando. Like, you get some use here or there out of them. So giving one of, like, the Zalbar one was a little more out of left field because I don't feel like many people use Zalbar anymore. But there's a handful of mercenaries people still do sort of use here and there that I think you could give one of them a Kron, or give one of them Omi. I think Cat should get one because his character is awesome and he's a GL requirement.
Yeah. Well, guys, one last meta-related topic. I'm glad you mentioned it, Dagger. Reasonable enough.
Segue!
Yeah, boy. So, yes, the Zalbar
Almost like I read the
Omicron.
notes.
The Zalbar
Understood
Omicron.
the assignment.
It is a big deal. So, if you've applied this Omicron, while in Grand Arenas in general, Zalbar gains Retribution and taunts for 1 turn at the start of battle, at the start of his turn, and whenever he loses Retribution or taunt. Whenever he attacks out of turn, inflict a stack of damage over time for 2 turns on all enemies which can't be evaded or resisted. Enemies can't gain defense up or stealth. That's active in any any Grand Arena mode, but in 3 versus 3, while in 3 versus 3, if Darth Revan and Mission are allies, and there is no enemy galactic legend, so it's just like a Qui-Gon Omicron in that it's just neutralized. This whole thing, this whole next section, is neutralized if there is an enemy GL. Zalbar and Mission gain the Sith Empire tag until the end of battle. Mission gains a bonus turn at the start of battle. Until the start of that turn, she can't be targeted by enemies. At the start of that turn, she is instantly defeated and grants her crit chance, crit damage, offense, and speed to Zalbar and Darth Revan, in addition to their own, until the end of battle. These effects persist through defeat. Zalbar and Darth Revan gain guard until Zalbar is defeated. Once per turn, Darth Revan assists whenever Zalbar uses an ability. It's insane, guys. Let me just show you real quick how I've set mine up. Reasonable amount of speed, skewed for protection. Modeled the offense more or less off Aesop. He managed to add just over 2,000 like this on it, and about just under 77% armor, rather. That's Zalbar. Mission is... Here, we'll do this. Got
While
her...
you're doing this,
305.
I think Solo... Sorry, while you're showing this, I think Solo mentioned that he mentioned that he doesn't like the backfill Omis, and I agree. I think some of these are unnecessary, especially when the board is already cluttered. But I wish that if they would do it, they'd go back to just doing like one every 2 weeks like they used to. If you're going to do it, lean in. If you're not, just like the board's already.
So I'll take Solo's point when the mats are sparse, right? But giving fun ones, and I think Solo covered it really well on Gambit. So hopefully you got to hear what he said, because the point of view of coming in saying let's say every season, I'm gonna backfill you one. That's nice, right? And make it something that has merit, because this, as far as I understood, I didn't do anything with the other side of it, but this has merit to being true to the story of the setup, and also it's just really fun. But it's not, I don't think it's going to break the game if you don't get it. It's not like one of the super ones, but this seems like really fun. But also this feels like fuck 5. This is a 3's Chrome. Just personally to me, I know Solo asked Zareth about it, and if you're doing it, like, I'm not touching old boy to make him to anything right now. But this feels like a super fun 3's Cron that's going to have a blast. Yeah, you may lose some banners, but if you're like, I need to get out of jail, right? You do the same thing with Qui-Gon. And if you set a heavy board and you know this is going to clear something, because damn sure we're going to clear something. It's got Smuggler, you've got Mercenary, so you could go that way if you need to. So you could play into those parts as well. It's just a lot of merit to do something. Dude, I am hyped for seeing how far this can push up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but also you're not going in there looking like I'm going to get perfect banners. Like, nope, I may lose somebody, but you're losing everybody, and I'm walking out with something, because it's a one and done, right? There's no more, no less. You have one shot and you're out.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand that this can get just straight up neutralized by a GL in 3 versus 3, but I'm okay with that commitment, and that's more than what you can say about Tuscans a lot of the time in 3 versus 3. So I don't want to undersell that this might actually be really good, although I don't disagree with you, Dagger. I mean, we've long since had too many teams, so I don't know from that point of view that it's particularly helpful. But as a big fan of Mission and Zalbar, and sad to see them fall into disuse, this makes me happy. But anyway.
Oh yeah, I am happy that this team is obviously going to be better than whatever Kira Lita is going to set down.
Sure.
Right? Because like those 14 to 15 teams you said, like they're usually kind of mid. This team is much, much better than that. And it costs Darth Revan from Malgus, which you probably weren't placing anyways.
Sure.
It's an offense team for heavy posters and a defense team for cheesers. Is pretty much where I expect it to land.
That sounds just right. Yep.
I mean, is it a defense team past week 1? Like the inside data is going to come out, and is it still going to be a defense team past week 1?
Cheesers aren't going to use it anyway, so I think cheesers are still going to happily post this. Basically, what this team says is, if you give me 20 banners, it's a nothing team, and if you're a cheeser, that's actually like not a bad prospect. Like if you're like playing for efficiency, that's not a bad elevator pitch, right? If I'm trying to build a fatigue board, I don't want someone to be able to just go -20 and like make my fatigue less effective, right? Like I literally need to post 15 teams that can actually like cost you something decently real. Whereas
and that's
like
going to be the trick, right?
It's
you
your
gotta draw
Qui-Gon.
all those.
It can't go on the back wall.
It's
No,
literally your
like-
Qui-Gon team, guys. It's the same concept that you're going in. You go fight the fight. You're fighting the cheese, right? And to Fatal's point, I think it's the perfect call out that you're getting guard on your Zalbar. You're getting guard on Darth Revan, and you can't multi-hit onto Darth Revan anyway. So the setup is there. So from that perspective alone, you realistically need to put all of your power into the mission. She's gonna stack your team.
Yeah. Well, let me get
You
through
stack it,
reading
so
this.
it's like it's crazy.
Well, let me get through reading this on how I got these last two spec'd out. But yeah, mission I've got her just over 300 here. 305 speed, crit damage triangle, just over 10k offense, 132% crit chance. So all this is going to get handed off to the two of them. And then...
I stand by the crit chance being largely unnecessary, but
yeah, you don't need it.
Yeah.
Unless you're like specifically targeting.
You're getting
some shit,
ferocity.
like, yeah, we have to be talking like Leia or Enoch, which I don't think you can outscale Enoch anyway. But like, there are teams that can have conversations of like 200 plus crit avoid that like maybe her crit chance matters, but otherwise it definitely doesn't.
Yeah, and
I mean, every debuff you gain is 10% crit chance. So that means with ferocity, you automatically have 50%. Mission has a base 100, which means you're relatively base 100, which means you're at 150 just for existing. And then
You're
whatever
like
their base,
200
whatever
just for existing.
Huh?
You're at like 200 because ferocity gives you like 50% crit chance per.
No, I thought it was potency and offense, and then you get 10% crit chance per debuff. Could be wrong.
That's what I said. Or I maybe said 15, but I think it's 15.
Sith Empire
Check the
allies
lead.
are immune to
It's
turn
15
reduction.
speed. So yeah, 10% crit chance.
10
So yeah, he's at like 40% plus 90 base plus 100% for missions. So you're at like 190 pre-mods.
Yeah. So I take that point. And I think we talked about this last week that, I just put on a 2-piece of crit chance because putting any other 2-piece on was actually going to cost me more from somebody I cared about more. So
yeah, that's fine.
And the crit chance is necessary. That's getting handed off. But what we were talking about last week was, if you didn't really care about the crit chance 2-piece, you could go with a broken set for your 2-piece, whatever's going to give you the most offense and speed like that. Yeah. So anyway, though, I kept him about 350. Still over 90k health at Relic 9, but then I packed on a ton more offense, so over 13.5, 13,665. I could have gotten closer to 14k, but then I was talking about dipping under 350, and I wasn't looking for that. So
we have the Datacrons. They're literally doing all of the added things you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. That's where it's to me. I don't discount what you're saying, Task, but as fast as you're going to go and as much damage is going to stack. So your mission, and one thing is, for anybody who doesn't know Tassenix, he's literally had his mission and his Zalbar stacked for years. Before it was cool, he was doing things on streams and using his mission. His mission was punching up, right? And so that's now being passed off on top of Crons that, depending on how you want to stack it, 25% terminated to start, whatever you want to do there. You could stack it, and then it's offense, crit damage, and everything else that's being packed in to what you're giving the team. It's going to be bananas. So that's what I'm saying. You could push all of the information, keep everybody the same. They all have guard, so you're not going to mess with them that way anyway. and you're stacking that at Datacron. It's such an easy low hanging fruit for this cron to do all of the damage anyway. That's my thing where it's like it's tough to beat. Not saying that this is going to be just to me it's Fatal. Fatal called it perfect. You know, Fatal's going to be Fatal board, and that board is going to be heavy as shit. And he's got his Qui-Gon 2.0. There's a team I need to get rid of. It's done.
And to answer the question, I guess that was asked, will it be a defense team after week 1? I suspect not. I think there's going to come out some cheeses to this team because it's still 2 characters. Yeah, they're going to be fast as shit, but we'll see how it turns out. I think that there will be answers to this.
It'll be solvable, but if you're an efficiency player, unless they punch up really fucking well, then you're happy to take the -3 over your default option.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is if you're an efficiency player and playing that game, and we all know them, and we all have the friends who do the stuff like that. That's the way they want to play, and that's fine. It's
not real people.
Wait, say guildmates, players in the game, right? Fatal. So to be fair, but that's what it is. I'm gonna eat banners from you, and that's how I'm gonna get you. And then you're gonna lose 5 or whatever it is, or you're gonna have to overkill this team to make sure that you're good. Great, I just pulled a resource, and it doesn't take much to build that team to be effective to make you have to work for it.
Yeah, Zalbar gains a bunch of prot back, but this is just mostly for the obviously -3 banners for mission. DR doesn't have any prot regen in this kit, does he?
That's not without BSF present.
Okay. Yeah, so it's effectively going to be -4 banners.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just trying to work through in my head, what's the likelihood of you getting even the 54, right?
Yeah, you'd be having to you need to set a pretty heavy defense to justify so sloppy an attack.
If you're an efficiency player trying to post this, I think you're playing the game that DR used to have to play at some points where it's like, okay, I'm not hitting that guy so that he stays feared, so that I can lap. It was like set 16 attacker Crom was doing this shit. You're literally just fear lapping, and just okay, but you're about to be able to hit me again, but I'm getting you with another round of fear, and then you're just strategically trying to tiptoe around turn meter bars and shit to avoid taking anything.
Those loops will be very real, or at least lapping, not true turn meter loops, but that speed is going to be pretty exceptional when you add in the ferocity plus the combined mission speed with DR, and depending on what you do, there are tons of different ways to use DCs, but people might throw the dark side 15% turn meter on a special. That idea, fear repetition will come.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, 675 base speed, basically being Tassenix Dark Revenue is 675 base, 5 debuffs plus mission.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? You get to play with the fight, dude, or you can do
and by definition, just non-GLs.
Well, now let me ask this to the room before we move on, because I don't want to stay on this too much longer. But from the way that I've shown how I've modded these guys, are you thinking anything wildly divergent for any of the 3 characters? Solo's got a solid head shake no on that.
I would crit damage set, but
my modding is always going to depend on the use case.
Okay. On whom? Crit CD on whom?
On CD on mission.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
is there any argument? Is there any argument to moving Darth Revan over to CD?
I have CD on Zalbar even. I have CD on all 3.
Okay.
Take that. I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like your idea of that. That's pretty cool.
Do you have prod on your Zalbar then, or did you lean all the way into offense?
No, I still want CD set, CD try 3x protection primaries.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a couple different ways to build them out, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry. You need to know what you're going to fight, because there's a full question of okay, mission's providing offense, so do I need to double down offense to get through this fight, or do I need to Hulk the fuck out of Revan to get through this fight? That's why I'm not trying to be cagey or washy here, but I feel very, very uncomfortable being yeah, you should totally if you want to play it safe, mod for health, and then if you fall short on damage, then next week be okay, I'll push more offense and stuff like that. Health is probably the safer answer, but I think there's 100% a chance that you're just like, dude, I just need more speed and offense to just like really cram through this thing.
But I feel like you're right, though, right? People, I think, forget that, and it was cool when he was doing anything else under Tarful and all that, but Zalbar slaps, man. His AOE, and that's assisted by Darth Revan, actually hurts. So your logic of saying
Yeah.
I want that to be impactful makes sense, Fatal, because that could technically take somebody out. Those two
Well-
coming at you with each damage tied in together is huge.
And I was telling Tass that one of my first thoughts when I read this Omicron was Padme might be okay against this team with the crit immunity when you have prod up. And then punishing the attacks out of turn. And then Courage being able to bonk off Darth Revan.
People are very used to BSF being with Darth Revan. I don't think people realize just how glassy Darth Revan.
Yeah.
Whether it's under Malgus lead, so that you're getting the debuff regen and the crit avoidance, or whether we're talking with DR lead, where he's getting the 70% health and
70%.
Yeah, defense, which I know he shreds it, but you still get that defense before you start taking turns, and people were going over DR for ages. This is a very different DR, and I think it's powerful, but your modding and your datacron are going to determine, is this, are you watching the movie Crank, or are you watching like a boxing match? Because you will have to crank out some matches where it's just like, I'm just fucking murdering everyone, and if you sneeze at me, I'm gone. I'm done.
That's it. That is what it is. That is what it is. That, I think your analogy is the perfect example of, boom, they're gone. Cool. Versus like, oh, I have to fight you? No, I can't do that. That's not how this works.
The real benefit of this squad on offense, though, when you think about how persistent that Zalbar taunt reads, I'm assuming it plays like that, but it reads extremely persistent. So if you bring them on offense and you get to select a target that, for example, can't ignore taunt, then your glass cannon is sitting there fairly safely behind, in the shadow of a giant Wookiee. The other wrinkle that I think is fun, I don't know if anybody will end up doing this, but like Zalbar, we've all gotten stuck behind Zalbar at some point over the last several years. Maybe it's been quite a while, but you look at the amount of dots that it generates and the fact that this set has a light side level 3 protection up on dot. Like there is, it's really tempting to use like dark side offensive buffs and other stuff. But oh man, that Zalbar is going to be such a pain in the ass. It's like, why? I just want to scratch his protection. That's all I'm saying. Just let me scratch him. He can't get there.
He's also doubling down in the Omicron by giving more dots, and then he regens his prod every time he takes a turn.
Yeah. Yep. Plus,
so like he's going to be really hard to like take down, and he stacks defense every time you hit him until he takes a turn. So if you're running it if you're running up against like a more turn meter oriented team that's going to take a lot of turns, like they're going to struggle chewing through him. I think.
Well, at the very least, if you're putting him in defense, it'll just mitigate, some of the ferocity reduction. But
well, no, I'm talking about if you use this team on offense and you go into a team that has turn meter, but they're single target. Right? Because like, cool, you guys can take like your 8 turns. Zalbar's just going to stack his defense and be okay.
Yeah. Okay. So then what's your target for this team? Like, you're talking about using this on offense. What is your actual target? You applied the Omicron. You open up the board. What is your ideal team that you're using this against?
It's just going to be a jump into the deep end, I think. Like, could he maybe just run over Leia? He doesn't really gain turn meter.
Why did I know you were going to say Leia? I knew you were going to say Leia.
Does he not work? Does he not work because the Omicron shut off?
The GL clause.
Does it shut off on GLs? Fuck.
Yeah, if there's an enemy GL, the 3 versus 3 clause shuts off.
Don't worry, guys. It kills Zori.
Go to your point. So, Zori. I think to your point, Solo, I think the call is specific, non-GL. And there may be something there, something like that, but non-GL, but whatever can't bypass taunt.
I wonder if it beats gas.
They get stuck on a taunt. So, like Balin. Or
I also wonder if it beats gas, like gas Rex 5s.
I would think so. Because as long as they can't get past, they're not hurting Zalbar to the point. And as long as they can't get to your Darth Revan, which is squishy
Great
as shit.
mothers.
Yeah. That's what but see, that's the light side tank.
No, but it doesn't matter. It's a dark side lead, so they have to go after Zalbar.
So then, but that's what I'm saying, right? To your point, it was whatever has to hit Zalbar, and I get to destroy that team is who I want to go after.
Speaking as somebody who just spent a lot of time ego checking Spirit this last season. If you are going to say, boy, I sure hope my Zalbar doesn't die, you better do your fucking homework and like R9 that fucker and full health him out. It's
And
Full
remember,
health
it ignores
specifically for that
defense,
matchup,
right?
yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
Zalbar's like, mine's loaded with defense, and Spirit's just
yeah.
going to show up under it.
No,
right?
like my record was like full, just like fuck defense, fuck protection, all health.
That's the way you got to go. Yeah.
Fair.
And Spirit still punches so hard.
I'm gonna be
And
honest,
this set-
Zalbar might still just die. Like,
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
set still has it too. This set is still built for Spirit. So
Yep.
to that
Yeah.
point, it's
Also
a lot of offensive back.
Isn't there a light side of Amplified Agony thing in this set?
Yes.
Yeah, they're still.
That one might be a little interesting as a level 3 on Zalbar for all the dots he puts down.
guys,
Maybe.
is gonna be
Always
honest.
have retribution.
Yeah.
Run the fucking dark side bus. What are we? God, you're
Yeah,
gonna
you know
be
what?
increasing your damage
You know,
by like.
Yeah.
I know.
6
That's what I'm.
Fun.
That's,
You're
that's my
right.
first thing
I'm
for sure.
being the wet blanket, but
No, you're
So
right.
He was
We're out here trying to be clever.
indulging
Just like
you.
stop being stupid.
He was
Yeah.
indulging you. He was get it out of your system, but he can only take so much. All right, guys. Thank you for all that. Let's move into patron questions. So we actually have quite a lot of them in solo. You did not get an advanced look at these.
I
so
did not.
These should all be pretty fresh to you. First one is directed at you from Banja. He says, how does it feel to have been so wrong about Ahsoka not being in the next raid? He'll know who said this.
I would have, and I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but no, realistically, there is no way CG does the most expensive GL ever and doesn't give her something, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
And
I
how
mean-
flat would that feel if they gave us a Leia style addition to like you know what I mean, like the extra battle you got for Leia?
Yeah,
well, do you count
yeah.
Meridian Patrol because that's better than the Leia event?
it
Yeah.
is. But like, there's just no way. I guarantee you, the event that they said, oh, we ran out of time because we wanted to commit to raids every 7 months, even though that's psychotic. I guarantee you, Ahsoka's going to have something somewhere because they don't want another Lord Vader where nobody touches him for 3 years and he's still the least had GL. So,
And also, like, the other thing with Lord Vader is that Mandalorians, especially since the Gar ISC rework, I'd argue it's not that much of a drop-off from Lord Vader himself to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have Maul, you still have a good team.
So to me, I'm gonna go low-hanging fruit again. You could easily do Peridia, do Ahsoka in there, and still do Thrawn. So you could easily do it this way and have 2 GLs to that setup, because then it goes to what Solo's talking about, and just stacking in, you're just going to get an extra GL that's going to be attached to it. So why wouldn't that be?
What if they tied a signal data resource event behind the one that has 3 R9s?
Oh my, yes. Please do. Please do.
Makes sense.
I want to
It's
see the
that
world
long
burn.
reimbursement play.
That gets announced.
Oh, did we lose somebody's camera?
Sasha
He said he'd be right back.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
okay.
that's-
I'm not going to
but I
fix
just
that.
wanna-
It's just going to be botched for a few minutes.
Nah, it's whatever. But I think to your point, Solo, to me, that's the easiest low-hanging fruit you could do, right? We're not going to do 1 GL. We're going to do 2. And it's cool because Freddy is there. You have all these other Iron Man characters that have already built up. And then let's say you're going to throw in, like, I don't care, Night Sisters or do something else. It's like then the event becomes worth it. And it's so easy for them to say, you're going to fight hordes of zombies. And this is what it's going to be. And so it's to me, it just makes a lot of sense that it's right. Just saying this is going to be the most expensive thing ever. All right, you're done. Move on now. Doesn't really feel right.
I still think where they go with the raid, or where they should go with the raid, because they never do what they should do, in my opinion, is jump into the Ahsoka show and do her flashback scenes as the raid.
Yeah.
Like, that would be the perfect raid. You have, like, 3 different waves, and it's, young Snips, older Snips, oldest Snips.
No, I see it. I do.
Or just make it like I agree. I think that there should be a raid that revolves around Spectre and maybe Peridia characters. But I also like what you mentioned, that event that you mentioned. I wouldn't mind that being for like a resource event
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Like specifically signal data. Because that's like the one thing they haven't really addressed. And if you go R9 3 characters to get Ahsoka, you better goddamn give us signal data.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. Andre, you're wrong.
Yeah, I 100% expect her to get something like Solo said. I don't know what she's going to get, and it probably won't be Smuggler's Run too good, but like I expect her to get something.
Fantastic. My cat is currently hacking a hairball in the corner. Fantastic. All right. You, best of luck to you over there with that. All right. Next question from the Lost Womp Rat. So, yeah, he asked, what Datacron are you most looking forward to and testing out, and which one are you most fearing? I think we covered that pretty exhaustively earlier, but as far as the one that I would want to see the least is, I think we'd all probably agree is, like, I wouldn't want to have my pants, caught down for Asana. That's probably the most dangerous single level 9 I can think of. I don't know if the room has any other comment to throw in with that one.
I want to know, and I know we didn't talk about it, but it still feels like it might have relevance. The Hunter Cron, the speed ad, the Merc setup, and everything else. The tie, and I get Merrick and Shin, and I get all the pieces there. Is there a world where the Hunter Cron gets set up and goes with Balin?
I think so.
It has some really good stacks to it. So I know we didn't talk about it, but I am interested because of the setup and also Task, to your point when you brought up the whole they're going to give us the second Cron. Yeah, my second one literally basically all offense. So I've got like 50% offense just naturally.
My second Cron is so much better than my first one. Like it's not even.
That's what I mean. It's like Task, like, well, what it is Task and I were talking, and he was telling me, man, you better make sure you better get this because it's going on. I was like, yeah, if I get to it, I did it normal and everything else, 50% offense, just naturally rolled out, dude. It was literally all offense. I was like, oh, I got to tell Task about it. But I think there's merit there with that setup because he's so fast that with Balin, that's got some monster possibilities, in my opinion.
So he loses speed, though, right? Because the Kron is, in 5v5, it's 150 speed. In 3v3, it's 90 speed. And wouldn't the dark side or light side plus 25% turn meters be able to compete with that a lot easier?
That's a reasonable consideration because, in no circumstance would you be dropping Shin. So we're talking about dropping Marok to put in Hunter, or, Mercenary Hunter, and to get the most out of this Kron. But that would be the competing option, right? Keeping the core trio and just going Dark Side set 19. Something
I can easily see where Merrick goes. So the good thing about it, though, is I can easily see where Merrick goes because I could easily go with Reva and GI. Yes, it was cool in doing it in 5s, but Merrick with Reva and team is still a menace, and giving Terminator to that setup would also be gross.
Respectfully, I think that a lot of what makes you think of him as a menace is A, 5 versus 5, and B, at least in part, because of that set 18 Ufu Kron. Like, he's just a dude here in 3 versus 3 outside of Balin's team.
No, sir. I think you are mistaken with the setup. Him hitting into 6 stacks, and gaining TM off of that setup, I think you're underestimating how strong he really is.
Yeah, but essentially,
give him the Mercron. But you're going to run the Mercron with Inquisitors if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Like I said, actually, I didn't even think about doing it with the Mercron, but that would even be grosser. That long text and putting that in there with Merrick, yeah.
Okay. That is a creative use. I wasn't thinking about that. That's a good one.
I didn't even think about that, so but it's a good call out, dude. Like I said, he loves 6 stacks. And so with that whole team coming out that way, that is a pretty compelling argument. And you can go super crit damage. You can go super offense. You can build the stacks that way. It's pretty easy to get there.
One Cron that I don't, and I'm not saying it's going to be good on defense, But I'm nervous to see what people are going to try with HK because I know there's going to be a bunch of people that try to make HK work. And that AoE fear to like start off
something. Yeah, sort of HKL3 something.
Yeah, that's going to be really obnoxious to fight against, and I imagine I'm going to lose a lot of banners against that team this season. So whatever team he's on, I feel like I'm going to lose a lot of banners there. So he makes me a little nervous because like AoE fear is bullshit, as Dr. Evan taught us.
It's very true. Very fair. Let's see. Now this one's kind of deceptive, but another one from Banja. What are you thinking will be the optimal Ray composition? So we're based on what we've already discussed, we don't have to relitigate it, but the idea that we were saying is, I think Fatal was saying he's kind of on the significance of Nest with Ray. And as far as Exile Ezra with Ray goes, it's just solved. So what do you guys actually think then? What's the tough way to go? It's going to be Ray, Swolo, and who for you then?
Cal. I think I'm going to start
OG Cal, yeah.
Calcron.
Okay.
Either that equals
on
TR.
So yeah, set 19
I still want to try the
Calcron.
Nest.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good
I
one.
think if you still want to try out Nest, I don't think it's a bad week 1 option. I'm personally going Rail
That's
3 watt.
that's what I think. That's what I think it is specifically. Fatal is it's obviously go get your third fucking Omicron for Fatal. But I do want to
No,
see.
don't do it
what
for
the
Fatal.
one
Just
does,
just do it to be like.
do it for yourself.
What if
But
again,
it's what
for
Solo
all the
said, right?
folks at
It's
home.
the same. It's the same significance. We haven't faced it yet, so there's that question of what if. And also, I want to go back to and the one thing that I put down for what Sasha said. Sasha called it a good one that I think we sleep on, and it still holds good. General Syndulla with the Sabine Kron and Ezra was still a monster at the end, and that to
was
me
a
you
cool
can easily
team
put your
last season.
Ezra there, and that team was that team was one of my favorites.
That is a
Sasha
good
said
team.
it, and like week 2, week 3, dude, so much fun because it held so many times because you still have ATF to go with your Ahsoka. Now, when the Ahsoka Kron's gone, when the ATF Kron's gone, obviously things change, but that's like spreading out the love of what you have to face, and all of those are menaces.
Fair. Very fair. Yeah, just on screen here for the folks at home, if you're not familiar with this Omicron we're talking about, if you're in the business of Star Killer versus Ray, and you do not have the Omicron on Boundless Force Throw, you are overdue. You are overdue. You are delinquent on your owings to Grand Arena.
You need to join Fatal's requirement club.
Yeah, the
It's
sheer
like,
amount of
when you go
people
to a TW guild.
the sheer amount of people who are like, I don't do TW Omicrons, and then they don't have this one is still mind-boggling.
So basically, what's happening here is L3 will auto self-cleanse herself and regain her evasion. It would still be a good idea to make your L3 as tanky as possible, just because there's going to be some slippage, I would imagine. But if they try to just like EP Mara SK, I would imagine that you can scam some pretty high up people who are just like pushing buttons. It's a fairly cheap comp. I'm not saying that I have like a higher calling for Ben, but I don't think Ben's going to scam people nearly as effectively. Okay. Unless we're just talking like Turbo Ben, but that's just
JTR Ben BB-8. You heard it here first.
It
beats nothing, but have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
They just fixed Ben under Seer lead this last patch, so you can still not use that. Look forward to that.
Yay. All right.
Even with your Star Killer team in 5s, there we solved it.
Fantastic. All right, we got one here from Frick Frack Paddywhack. Do you think the Smuggler level 6 will impact Zori viability on defense? So does the Smuggler level 6 make any difference for what you're using against Zori? And I think no as well.
The teams that beat Zori, like Zori's the does this beat Zori? Okay, good. Like she's the floor for
and the check is, does it have a means of reliably inflicting debuffs on her? Because if so, evasion goes bye-bye. That's it.
Plus, she's the only smuggler, and you save her for last anyway. So
yeah, because you can't hit her. That's what.
Right.
If I'm looking at anything, it's like I'm just a TM gain for the team versus she's got smuggler.
Especially when Malgus' role on offense just got reduced because he's losing DR for a lot of people. Like, he can just solo that team.
I don't see, that's not one of the ones I would consider. That I wouldn't call that a 15 team just because she's a smuggler on the team, because nothing has changed. She's hidden from the fight. So basically she's got the evasion anyway. No one cares.
I think it's a great idea to try to find ways to make teams viable on the board. I just don't think this current set is going to allow Zori to sit there and be a productive member of your defense.
I think she'll be fun on offense, though. Getting 25% to start the fight, and then you get to stay in front that way, that feels pretty good. I feel like the resistance still have a calling to do some good work, because basically you'll set up your turn meter loop and then just keep on looping.
If you have the 25% TM, do you still need OG Finn, or sorry, Resistance Zero Finn, or can you do Rose? If you have the enemy.
Finn, because the Finn's going to pass back. All you're going to do is literally do pass backs to Zori, and you're never going to stop your loop.
Rose is the core combo piece, but you're fucked no matter who you cut. But Finn's unique still gives you a slightly better tool set, and you can just AoE pop exposes
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. Good one. All right, next one here. Yeah, I'm glad I saved this for a patron question. Is Slacker, Darkside Ray good on defense in 3 vs 3? And, which data crown would you use? I just want to mildly twist this question. How are you thinking about Darkside Ray here in this season? Because, honestly, I can't have been the only one. I know there were a handful that were already doing it just within my own guild, but brushing up your first order TIE fighter pilot, the one that has the Omicron, because you can set something goofy like crew lead, Kylo Ren unmasked with Dark Ray, and that, FOTP. And that's something. Again, we're talking about a situation where if you're going to be putting this Darth Revan thing on defense, you're already assuming a board where you must be causing a lot of stress elsewhere for a team like this to be complicating, and that's kind of what I'm thinking there myself.
I feel like
bad match in 5v5.
I feel like she has multiple clauses that say Supreme Leader Kylo.
She has a couple that specifically benefit him, but the ones you're thinking about that enable her core mechanics require any version of Kylo Ren in the leadership slot. Technically, you could use the masked Kylo Ren, and that would fulfill it. It does not require that he is himself a leader.
I know, but
I like Sasha's.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, what are you losing if you don't use Slacker lead? That's what I'm asking.
You lose shock on her AoE, so that is Slacker required. Some of the others are any Kylo, but that provision is only Supreme Leader.
I'm sure there's a place where I'm going to try to surprise you at some point, and hopefully none of my opponents listening probably are. I'm sure it goes in there at some point, and it does go. I also like I said, I think Sasha has a fun one with the crew and doing Dre and then doing Starkiller. That's fun, right? That's a different and unique.
Yeah.
So it's I just want to make sure I give roses to Sasha for the color like that, but also it's all right, now I'm gonna try to trick you and then probably SLKR or Dre in the back, or doing something else, because it's still got merit to hold. I just don't know when it goes. I think you would be foolish to not have put SLKR with this new character on defense at some point, because there's a couple different ways, right? Turn meter set it up and make them and let them go that way. I'm going to stack the offense because I'm getting a whole bunch of buffs, and so we're going to stack the offense that way on top of an offense cron, on top of the setup with that. So there's a couple ways that it can go. Those two together. We were seeing videos. They were 2v5ing Leia. Those two alone. So if you really want to go 58 something, those two together are going to absolutely destroy stuff and bulk you back
Smart
up.
call for
there's a lot of
efficient attack. Yeah.
And
that sounds like a solo thing to me.
Don't forget too, Rey is going to look a lot better in 3v3 than 5v5, because her special that does the true damage is based on how many enemies there are. You take away 2 of the enemies that she opens up with, and that 80k hit that she was doing is now a 120 or 140k hit to your face the second she takes the turn. And with the Omicron, she's removing all your turn meter while she's doing it. So it's. I
do like Faust as the third there for the
I like
TM
Faust
plus retribution.
if you're
like
doing
Foss for
Slacker,
the assist
yeah.
roll and the TM. I totally agree with what Solo said. You get 65% more damage out of it in 3s than you do in 5s, assuming no summons are there. One other thing, and I had thought about this too, the FOTP OMI, which like so many of us like, oh, TJ, I remember both you and I were really psyched when that came out. That
Yeah, he
OMI, right?
convinced me to put that on too, and I haven't used it.
And you know, he wasn't
can.
alone. I was psyched for it too. But you know, the downside
Yeah.
is like that 100 speed requires advantage, and unless you have Hux in the squad, you're not starting with advantage.
It also requires no GLs.
Yeah, it requires no GLs, and I think it only works on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Like there's like a couple of other things.
It does do a Tuesday Thursday thing, yeah.
Yeah. So it's tempting. It's tempting, but like I couldn't get it to click in a way that really like thrilled me. But
I want it to be a thing because now that the First Order have like a lifter, it's like, can we finally make a good second unit? And the answer is still no.
I just think the ability's there to do a lot.
I don't know.
It's
Somewhere
so
out
easy.
there, Fatal. This is probably for you to do. Is a Seer Dark Ray Ben squad. Because you've got Watt with L3, set SLK with Cal and Barris, and then do a Seer Dark Ray Ben, and at least you'll get somebody to think they've glitched the Matrix. That's
If you want to have some fun, go look up Bane with Dark Ray and Insight from last season.
I've seen it.
Man, dude, that is wild. Didn't even think about. That is just absolutely a gross thought.
Premium New Conquest Sith with other Premium New Conquest Sith.
So here's the problem of my project. Circling back to the start of no longer having anything under the G13, you can't set the Bane Dark Ray trash tune that automatically disappears at the start to initiate Bane.
That
would be fun
on the second shot. Yeah.
And is it a little off that like the sacrificial death that has to happen is a 14-year-old girl? And this like that didn't hit great for me.
Wait, who's the 14? Wait, whoa.
We're
talking about Darth Revan. Sorry, I forgot. We circled back to Mission. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my.
I mean, like they already put like we already have like a 12-year-old girl in this game, a 13-year-old girl in this game, a 14-year-old girl. In this... Sorry, I'm just saying like we have two versions of Omega. Like
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, but like I see where you're going with that. But like having played the KOTOR games, I'm like that makes up for it.
Yeah,
there is something. It's like this little like high school girl is going to sacrifice herself for the big angry bear man and the guy with the dark mask.
Got another one here from Stryker. This is a good one. Just a speculation question for the panel here. Jocasta New release said that there would be 3 new marquees and a legendary. For most of the panel, which 4 new characters are you hoping to see? For Fatal, because I know he doesn't care about characters, only kits, what are you hoping to see in the kits? Are there any mechanics interactions you would like to see? So, to the room and to Fatal, I guess, but we can tackle it in whichever order.
We all agree Jedi Dooku, right? I'm pretty sure we all agree on
Sifo
Jedi
Dyas is surely up there as well. I know that's the common
Quinlan
one.
Voss. Quinlan Voss would be interesting.
Quinlan Voss is another one I've heard very commonly.
I want Yaddle.
So
yeah, I'm out on that one.
I hear you.
I still want. I'm a Yoda though, dude. It's like it literally. It's for me. You want to pick it. It's like for me, getting somebody with on the level of Jedi Dooku. He was on the council. All of the pieces fit. That's who I would want.
Okay.
For me, and this is not realistic at all, but like I love Andor. I want Deidre Miro, Karis Nemec. I'd want hell, put Brasso or B2 Emo in there. But anyway, I'd want the characters I enjoy, and then they tend to come up with cool thematic kits for them.
If we're talking people, I still think Chimere would lend itself to an incredible SWGOH kit. I would like to see a proper Mace Windu, which could easily happen with Jedi Vanguard, Copium. And then I would like to see... well, we got fucking cartoon versions of characters, so I'm gonna go hard. The 03 Grievous show, the one that came out right before Revenge of the Sith, that like had a version of General Grievous that wasn't a fucking pussy. I would like to see him added to the game in that kind of cartoonish look. That's kind of like
if you're going cartoon, one other one I would want off of the Phoenix and everything else, the light side Inquisitor. If you're going with the Jedi Vanguard, I would love to see.
Well, right.
Didn't CG already say that that's basically coming?
Because I think we wandered a little off the question, right? I think it wasn't just like what 4 characters. It would be like what 4 Jedi Vanguard characers to be introduced alongside Jocasta Nu.
That's what I'm going with instead. Yaddle for me. I would want Jedi Dooku. I would love to see the light side Inquisitor. Those are low hanging fruits.
Light side Inquisitor, yeah. That wouldn't be.
That just feels like because you're saying Jedi Vanguard.
Is that Vanguard?
I don't know, but they could make it that. I don't know.
That's fair.
Didn't CG literally say this was coming with the Jocasta Q&A that we're getting them?
Oh yeah.
Did they?
Might be right.
I'm looking.
I'm down for it.
I was gonna say I didn't know that if they did, but that's
just give us Inquisitor Barris.
Phoenix.
Just give us Darkseid Barris. Just give us Darkseid Barris. Goddamn
also
it.
Not bad. Happy to have.
Darkseid Barris would be a good one too, man. But
not
again, if I'm looking at
specifically, but just like in general.
But Jedi Vanguard tag is what I'm looking at, so that's I'm trying to stick to that realm of it.
Additionally, an upcoming Jedi Vanguard unit will have those nods to Grand Inquisitor you are looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. I do remember them saying that.
The moment is at hand.
Yes, we are getting a light side Inquisitor who's going to be a Jedi Vanguard Ufu.
You gotta believe
it's not gonna be Ufu.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can. By definition,
Well,
he would be Jedi. No, he would be Jedi.
Yeah, you can't be either Jedi or Sith and Ufu. It doesn't work.
No one loves you.
Yeah,
that's fair.
No, there's no way, dude. It's protecting the temple, whatever it's going to be doing. So it would be the Vanguard. So he had to be Jedi.
Does that mean? That means we're getting Sentinel. That means we're getting Jedi Sentinel, which is the guy who has the Utapawan Jedi Sentinel.
Yeah, that's who we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So that means we're getting a completion of the SWOTOR Jedi minions.
Sure, but
because we have Consular and Tanky Poo. I forget what that Guardian.
Tanky Poo.
Oh yeah.
Finally complete that set.
Yes.
Yay! Can we get the Old Republic tags for God's sake? They're from SWOTOR.
Fair. Quick question though. Aside from these other more likely suspects that we've already been discussing, anyone else Jedi Vanguard-y that you'd be interested in seeing?
I think we should probably get like a new version of Ahsoka.
We need another version of Qui-Gon. Give us baby Qui-Gon.
So, who was at the temple that fought Vader?
A lot of dead people. Lot of dead people.
No, but it was the captain of the guard. I'm trying to remember the name. That was like the captain of the guard or something like that.
No, I got you, fam. We need to have a character that's just called the Younglings. And it's just like 4 little 10-year-olds.
Just a little blonde boy. Just a little blonde boy. Looking.
It's just 4 little 10-year-olds. Like,
they're like Geonosians. They all squat up and attack at once, and he's just like slice. Dead. Oh my god.
They already said they wouldn't add children, then they gave us Mission and 2 versions of Omega. Like, they're clearly okay with giving us children at this point.
Fair. All right, that was a good one. Let's see, what else we got here? Yeah. I mean, Frick Frack asked, is there a case you can think of where the level 6 smuggler would be better for Jabba over the level 6 Hutt Cartel, seeing as Jabba is a smuggler? Yeah, we expressed this. I think Sasha and Solo each expressed some support for that idea. So certainly worth testing here in week 1. Any other comments from you guys on that?
Well, and just make sure it's got the light side 2% on the 3, because that's
where the money is. And what would you say? So you got the light side level 3. You're going to go with a long text, of course, 6. And then what would be the stat profile you're looking for?
So mine has 115% tenacity. I actually just played it.
Man.
Now,
Good
now
luck.
tenacity
Good luck
is
to hit me. Yeah.
now is
for
tenacity what
effort.
you preferred, or is that like if you lucked into that mostly and only had to tweak a bit, or like if you mostly got a cron that was not tenacity, is it of such a value to have tenacity that you would just make another cron for this purpose from ground up, or would you do a ton of rerolls? What are you thinking with that?
I think you want the tenacity, especially
Okay.
with the evasion. If you're not debuffed, I think the tenacity is.
And because BT1 has a crown, and this makes Afro more obnoxious.
That is a completely fair point.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
definitely
it's a
tenacity
combination
on
of the whole
side.
package between the level 6 and Afro actually having like a little bit of a, not saying a leg up, but like people are more incentivized to try it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So here's going to be my podcast question, because since we're in the podcast question section of it, how many people or how many times are you going to read on Discord on Wednesday night? I don't understand why they're evading. I applied armor shred.
Oh my god!
Mm.
On your
don't read
on
Discord.
your server, at least
On every server, because it's going to be on Fatal
Yeah.
server, Tassenix server. I guarantee you it.
oh yeah,
I can feel
I
it.
can't give you a number for all of them, but I'll bet you that question's at least 20 to 30 or some variation of it, where it's just like, what obvious mechanic that this cron introduces and is working, and I can't win. Right? Like,
I think we'll all accept those sort of questions here in week 1. We'll, grit our teeth a little week 2. I think week 3, I'll be reduced to just linking the "you dumb motherfucker" gif.
That's what you're just gonna. All you're gonna do is pin that bitch because it's gonna be go look at the pin, bitch.
Yeah, it'll be
Go
around
look
for
at
like the
pin.
next 3 months, right?
to just
Yeah.
pin the set 20 mechanics.
That's what I said, man. It's like your point is like, why do you have to read it? It's like go read the pin, bitch, and literally have to put bitch in there. So because at this point you're being a bitch for not fucking paying attention like everybody else.
Fair.
Oh, I already know like Solo. I already know like 4 of the people that are going to say something on your server.
Oh, I can 100% name it, and there's a few that I guarantee you we get the comment at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Over the next 4 months, they're going to ask the same question at least
No,
3
what's
times.
going to be is Solo. Why didn't you tell them? Why didn't you tell them?
Why
I'm on
didn't
your
you
server.
warn
Why
me?
didn't you tell me? Yeah, why didn't you tell me this was going to
Why
happen?
did no one tell me that this existed? Why didn't CG put out a post where this explained this to me?
Or podcast for the
Yeah.
channel you're on, with the Discord that you read, with the people that you know.
Fair enough. All right. Next question here. So Miasmal sent a bunch, but I don't want to stay on this section too much longer. Let me pick out what I think is the most interesting of all these. And we'll start with Dagger here and just round robin this. But outside of Swugga, what is a skill that you possess that no one would think that you do? Dagger.
I am very good at basketball.
There you go. Fair enough.
I mean, there's probably other things that are less acceptable to a show we try to keep PG or PG-13, but my girlfriend knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, she
All right.
does.
All right, fair enough. I could tell there was a moment of hesitation in your answer, and I appreciate all that
I was
pre-processing.
going to say
you did.
something else.
That
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
hesitation.
yeah.
That was him being unsure. He just wasn't sure about his answer.
No
No,
doubt.
I was going to say something, and it was going to be really bad.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, Fatal, how about you? What is a skill you possess that no one would think that you do outside of Swugga?
I don't know, man. I did basically everything in high school and college except theater. So I played basketball for like 10 years, soccer for like 5 or 6 years, played violin, played guitar, played bass.
Yeah, but that's something you did. What about something you do? What about a skill that you have, implying that it's a skill that you exercise, right?
I don't know, man. I fell the fuck off. I stopped exercising a bunch of stuff.
You bum. Yeah, I'm no better. I'm no better.
I did everything back then. I was like, I got my fill.
Say Fatal can make his beard look like a polo. We talked about this pre-show.
That is a
Honestly,
skill.
with the black continuously like flickering
Yeah, you don't even know
with
what's going on.
the green
That
screen,
man, yes,
it's
he's ready
actually
for war.
giving
Actually,
it's giving like that Black Lion's mane thing going on. That's what I'm seeing. That's
The
what I'm
ambiance
The
is
joys
there.
of
That's
this
right.
one.
Beautiful. All right, Sasha, how about you? What's a real life non-swugga skill that nobody would think you have?
Nobody would think I have.
Or at least wouldn't necessarily easily suspect.
Yeah, I guess because come across as such an easygoing person generally. I am a hell of a negotiator. I I will say that. I've spent a better part of a career doing it in a number of different contexts, and it's I have my own style. There are different styles to it, but that's a skill that I have that people wouldn't
Fantastic.
necessarily guess because I'm not a hard ass, a hard charging type of person. But yeah, it's a skill I have.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll keep that in mind and fly you out next time I'm looking to buy a car. Drag you with me to the lot.
I
That'd be
now
fun.
need to put you on speed dial to litigate all of my arguments with my girlfriend.
There we go.
Some
There we
things
go.
you just can't win.
I was gonna say, you created your own argument. Come save me, Sasha. I screwed
That's
myself
right.
up, but I need you to
That's
help me
right.
get out of this.
Fantastic.
I need her to
It-
finally
it-
admit she was wrong after
It's
years.
that important lesson, though. I can't remember what movie that's from, but if you're good at something, don't do it for free.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Heath Ledger's
yeah.
Joker. Yeah. All right.
By the way, Heath Ledger was amazing.
He really was. He was a good one.
Knight's Tale was great. Sorry.
You're good. TJ, how about you? Real life skill. Folks would be surprised to know. Don't say that you work out, you son of a bitch.
I was gonna say the gym shit everybody knows, dude.
That's right.
We talked about it here, but like the other things I would do, a lot of the weird enough as it is, networking shit for like internet and stuff like that was a little hobby of mine. That and the other fortunate thing I'd say, so I'll go off of Sasha's for what I do, basically salesman-y stuff is basically healthcare. So I get to know all the ins and outs of all the shit that nobody would want to know about. So
Yay!
you got one guy you want to kill because he's a lawyer. I'm the other side because I'm healthcare. So that's the other things that like a skill for me is just knowing all the bullshit you don't want to know.
Fair. All right. Solo, how about you? What's that real life skill nobody's thinking you could do?
All right. So I'm a baker. I legitimately I have a ginger doodle cookie that if I approach any person's house and I don't bring it, I'm kicked out of their house.
That's fantastic.
It's not even a joke. So yeah, I have absolutely no artistic skill, so it will never look like anything you think it should look like, but the taste wise will be there.
Fair. For my part, I mean, so I grew up here in Michigan. I guess it wouldn't really come as too surprise to most of you that I grew up hunting. So I'm actually a crack shot with a rifle, with a shotgun, and with a bow. Very good. I got my first deer kill on my very first hunt, my very first night. Tracked it, had it field dressed, waiting for my dad to pick me up when he came to get me at dusk. So that's one side, and I guess the other thing is it's not recent work or anything, but I am a published poet. So nothing you're going to probably be reading about in 500 years or anything, but it's out there. That was a good question, though. It was fun.
Yeah, the hardest part of that question when I was initially thinking about it was that there are things that like I've done once or twice that like I really enjoyed and was kind of good at, but I have been called Ginger Santa Claus enough that no one would believe that I can touch the rim playing basketball or make like 70% of my 3-pointers. Right? People just would not believe that just by looking at me and all the fun that people poke at me.
Well, yeah, but that and the fact that you're also like 4'7" and shrinking.
Apparently, everyone thinks that I'm like 4'7" because I look like Peter Dinklage.
It's true. Nobody has context. You could be a literal troll, long hair and all, under a bridge with a green screen, and who could gainsay that?
I was 6'4" in 8th grade.
Oh my God!
Good Lord!
You're one of those guys. Yeah. When did the facial? When
all
did
of
the
the
beard come in?
surprises shit, right?
When
Do you
did
know
the
how
beard
fucked
come
up?
in?
Do you know how fucked up things get when you're just like a idiot 6th or 7th grader doing dumb shit and the teacher has to look up at you to like admonish you? It doesn't. It
Listen
stops
here,
working.
young man.
It stops working at that point. The system just crumbles. It doesn't work.
So you ran the
You can do
streets
this.
as a kid. You were just the school was yours.
Football recruiters would like throw themselves at my feet.
No
I was
doubt.
like, oh, good times.
All right.
There is one question that Miasmo had that I'll ask if you won't.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I just want to make sure we had enough time to comfortably wrap up because I still want to get everybody's final thoughts. But if something's really clawing at you, go ahead, ask it out.
No, this one's actually really interesting. Is there a lesser known player in Swugga that you like to scout, for instance, in comps, or to see how they punch up, like a lesser known Tom Ford?
Can we call Zach a lesser known Tom Ford?
I think
so.
a lot of people wouldn't know Zach as somebody to scout. He's very frequent on mine and yours and a variety of other Swugga Discord communities and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody to actually scout. No, but why do you say Zach?
I mean, he's right there testing. Not as much as Tom Ford because he's a child and can't afford to test as much as him. But I mean, he knows the kits, right?
Okay.
For being a 15-year-old, he knows the kits and knows what he's doing.
Wow, 15. Wow. All right.
Well, he's older than 15 now, but I think he was 15 when he started playing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I mean, for me, there's not really, because there's the same. I'll usually look at the same folks that are within the top 10, top 20. I'll look at those same players, and then of course I'm always scouting my opponent. But no, I can't really think of somebody that I know to be a hidden gem that I wouldn't already mention to everyone. So how about you?
Yeah, I would say Zach and Zid's cheating because he's not a small account, but he's a cheeser. He's a cheesy man. So seeing what the cheese master likes to set is sometimes interesting to learn.
He falls
prepared.
into my
Mine is-
net as somebody in the top 20, so I'm often checking out what he's up to. That's fair.
Yeah.
So mine is the opposite. It wouldn't, because obviously you have all the tools to be able to scout to do your things you want to do, but mine is more of who I'm trying to take mod advice from. And what I mean by that is to build the character the way I want it to do, or to get something close is where I'll try to pick it from. And it's not necessarily just the A stops, but I'll go around looking at various people. So I'll take the idea or the context of the question, but that's usually because we have the resources to go look at the stuff, but I want to build a character a certain way, or I want to pick a specific build, so like a Tass or somebody else, or a Fatal, because Fatal has some really good ones, or a Sasha, because he'll do something cheeky. There are a lot of ones out there that I want to build to adjust, or if I want to really change a spec for something. That's where I try to go get my resources from.
All right. Fatal, Sasha, anyone that comes to mind for you guys? Yeah, I know
Nothing
Fatal's
real.
like I don't even look at even my opponents, so no.
You don't look at himself.
My process is I procrastinate for 6.5 days, and then I go into a fever dream at like the last 12 hours before lock, and then I try to come up with something halfway decent looking. I don't know, like the only thing I could really...
small players you like to study though that wouldn't necessarily be known to the masses.
I don't really look at anyone. I don't know. The thing I'll say is that like if there's a reason to scout nowadays, which I like, if you're heavy on defense, the luxury of heavy defense is you don't really scout. You just like I basically pre-scout at the start of the season is like what do I think is the best defense this season, and then I just run that shit for 9 matches, and it's like, okay, how'd we do? But if you are not a fatigue player, which I do think fatigue kind of sits in the luxury spot right now, where like you do kind of need to be with the new teams, I would just say scout your opponent's offense. Don't scout their defense, scout their offense. Look at what they're bad at, look at what they're making mistakes on. I would say that's where the real opportunity lies.
All right, good one. Sasha, thought on
that? There are not any particular like smaller accounts that I found that I know that there's some out there, and there's a lot of creativity,
or not even necessarily
activity.
smaller account, just maybe even around top 20, top 50 that
Lesser
might have
known.
cool ideas, but you don't know. Folks don't know them so well.
No, not really. I mean,
Fair.
to be honest, I mean, I have my routine in the game now after a number of years, and as much as anything, particularly in like down weeks, I I don't do anything related to the game, honestly. Like, and then I will generally lock back in. It is different. It is not quite the same experience as Fatal's Fever Dream, perhaps, but it's roughly 12 hours before lock. And I'll get and like it's interesting. My guild will see the same thing. It's like whatever R9s I'm doing, it's a little bit before lock. Whatever it is, like it tends to be right there, and there will be a flurry of activity. But what I will say, and I think it's particularly germane to this group, like much of this group, is that like I do try, like when I get a chance, to consume content, because I think the content creators in the community that is interacting with the content creators, there's a ton of cool thinking there, right? Like, so, what Solo and Sarah do, like obviously, Fatal's attacks, Tas's stuff. And then it's the interaction with the community and the thoughts around there. Like that is where I really feel my game gets up leveled. And I'm particularly desperate for that and like get a lot out of it these days when there are a ton of erodiums, right? Like
Yeah.
if I'm battling really good players on a match after match basis, I do feel like an evolution and an enhancement coming from, I see what they were doing. I see how they reacted to what I did. And you build upon that. That muscle is not being exercised as rigorously anymore. So like content creators, I'm hugely indebted to. I think it's great. So that's where I go more than any place. But if there are small accounts, so to Miasma, who asked the question, because I think or not small, but just lesser known accounts out there, yeah, share it with us, because we'd love to give them a little more visibility of the rest of the community, look at it, and infuse more creativity.
Very fair. Great answer. Great answer. All right. I'm assuming TJ stepped away for just a quick minute, but we'll come back to him.
Try Solo.
He's here.
Oh, Solo.
Solo.
It was Solo.
Oh, Solo.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
All
when
right.
the computer when it goes, the images goes. So
Yeah.
it's all messed up.
It's not a perfect system. But anyways, guys.
It's all right.
No, I appreciate it. We've gotten a lot of ground covered here, and it's already, can you believe it, time to start wrapping up. So it's takeaways and final thoughts time. You'll get the sense of what we're doing here, Solo, but basically we'll start with you, Dagger. We're heading into this first week. We've done a lot of discussion here. Wrapping up your thoughts, what do you got to say to the people going into this first week?
I kind of mentioned this to you earlier, but I am looking at our schedule and gonna try and find time to make sure I get GAC in. Hopefully these next couple of weeks aren't too bad, since I'm still gonna be top of Kyber 2, bottom of Kyber 1. But we're about to hit that wall where God, we're busy. And it's nice out now too. Fuck. Yeah, my takeaways are I hope I have time to play GAC, because this 3v3 looks incredibly interesting. And it would be fun to dip my toes back in like the Kyber 1 waters this season. I should be after week 1. I'm like 90 points away. So after week 1, if I win all 3, I'll be in Kyber 1. So I'll say that those are my takeaways. I look forward to having the opportunity to actually play kind of for realsies again, I'll kind of say, and to actually like get the actual rust off.
Mm-hmm. And that's gonna be helping your personal play. How would you translate that to something for the folks at home? What they should be doing?
Don't get rusty.
Okay.
Like whatever you did at your peak, do that now.
Well, definitely reevaluate. Yeah, anything that you were doing that was dependent on set 18. But outside of that,
no,
yeah,
what I
that's
mean
good.
is if you ever scouted, just try scouting again, even if it's just pulling in the Omega bot, right?
Mhm.
Even if it's just pulling in hot utils and clicking on their .gg to look through something. Like, if you ever used to scout, try scouting again. If you ever used to like ponder clever teams,
All right.
Just use this as an opportunity because this looks like a lot of fun. It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of overwhelming power this month. So have some fun. Try and get back into the swing of things.
For sure. Fatal, how about you? Since you're the next one going clockwise, I know that's not our typical order, but we'll go ahead and break the rules since the cameras have dictated the terms. Yeah, you know what's on your mind? The big takeaway going into this week one, and what's your word of advice for the folks at home?
My last 3v3 season was really lucrative, and I don't really expect that to change too much, and I'm not too bummed about that, because, yeah, like, I looked at the remod for this week, and I was like, just gonna, like, add Zalbar Omicron, I'm just gonna add, Sauna, I'm just gonna add, like, one or two more things, but otherwise it's like, nah, just, if it ain't broke, and it was broken last season, but the good kind of broken, so I'm just gonna keep doing that until someone makes me stop.
All right, dig that.
Good shit.
Dig that. Now we, of course, we'll acknowledge Solo when we get around to him. But as the only other content creator that is routinely on this show, where can the good folks go to find you?
Twitch.tv/PaybookTV.
There we go. All right, to Sasha Aisha then, sir. Going into the week one, what do you got to say? What you thinking? What's your advice?
I guess I'll kind of like pull the same thread that Dagger was on. Like I was, as I was looking at how I want to approach this season, particularly leaning in the last like day or two, looking at threes, I'm like, we've been playing this game forever. I'm probably going to keep playing it for a while more, and I really want to value joy. And like, so I'm trying to find like just. I didn't love my 3v3 defenses last season, so I'm like trying to find stuff that's a little more creative and a little more fun. And I'm also appreciative of the fact that like I'm running into some of the same people repeatedly now, like, for the longest time, Aesop and Rockstar. And they've both done some fun, creative stuff recently. So I'm just sort of keeping that spirit going into it. And then, yeah, so in that sort of that balance and occasional conflict between competitive and enjoyment like pursuits. I mean, certainly stay competitive is my intention, but I want to try and do some stuff that I think would be fun and things that we'll seize there. So that's kind of my general outlook on it. And all that being said, I'm also just not terribly impressed with the new Datacron set, so I'm not so sure it's going to have like the sort of defensive fortitude that we'd seen in past. And if one doesn't get creative and try and be joyful with it, one can end up in a soul-crushing efficiency match much faster than one would want to be. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
3v3 efficiency matches can be bitter too. That is a bitter affair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no, I appreciate that, sir. All right, TJ, how about you? What's on your mind? What's cooking in the pot for week one? What's your word of advice to the folks at home?
Well, one, looks like Solo had to run. I got to notice baby woke up. So for where he's at, that was we had to go. So this one, what I don't like to say is don't be afraid to try and fail this stuff this week. I think that's a good one to take in because we're all going to be trying new things and seeing what works, what doesn't work. The week of, like Fatal talked about Ray Nest, this is the week to have it doing. Darth Revan with the Vandor, with Zalbar and all that. That's going to be a good one. But Sasha said it, and I'll say it again. One, do your homework. There's nothing. I've always been a believer of that. Tass, that's what brought you and I together when it was just the three of us. It was about the homework. Both of us sweated it out. Both of us like to do the homework. I think the scout is there. You talk about a megabot. I love all the tools. Insight GG. I still love it. Right. I don't have the most money in the account. I'm not the biggest whale of the bunch, but I still try to be competitive with everybody, and that's doing my homework. But as Sasha said, also supporting your content creator. I cannot stress this enough that they make the mistakes so you don't have to. Listening to Fatal talk out a strategy, and it's not throwing the thing down, but like, why did that fail? what is this going on? You can learn so much from your content creator. Watch them, give them your time, because if you love the game like we do and you love GAC, they do so much for it. Sasha called it out, I think, expertly. And that's why I love watching the guys. I love watching what Fatal thinks and watching his mind tick. I like watching Arnold try to do some crazy stuff and shenanigans, and because he'll try to get big and ballsy. Watching Xerath because he's going to try, and it's like, I get to go try this too. And you can try to make it better. I'm not a guy who's going to bring up new teams. I'm not a guy who's trying to recycle what I've seen that works, or try to get close. So my end thought, go watch these guys. They do the problem so you don't have to. That's
We
the
feel
fun
hard,
time.
so you don't have to. We're the scrubbing bubbles.
That's it, man. That's it. It's great. It is great to watch and great to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Hey, on that point, one question. Hey, Fatal, do you have Segamaro in your group again this week?
I haven't looked. I can pull up the game now.
I hope so. Just those are like when like you and Tass match up, when we get some of those, and Segamaro is just like a great example of like a fun player. Like,
I do not have them.
that's too bad, because I was going to say, for those of you that are listening, Fatal Segamaro matches are always a ton of fun. That maybe not everything sticks, but a lot of shit will go on the wall. It's a lot of fun.
Very fair.
Just trying to make the game as weird as humanly possible.
Very
That's
fair.
right. That's right.
Well, for my own part, I'm thinking that, if you've got a few of these level 9s and you're inclined to put them on defense, if you've put the Zalbar Omicron on and you're thinking about setting them on defense, like we were talking about earlier, you really need to step up your defense that much more, in the sense that, if you don't really have enough down that you're going to draw your opponent's GLs, the number of GLs you expect them to have reserved, then, your Darth Revan isn't going to do anything too crazy here, week 1, right? So just think about how, if you're trying to place any of these on defense, how you might otherwise intensify your defense a little bit, but I would still balance that against scouting your opponent, taking a look at the proportion of defense that they were running last season, and making sure that you have enough reserve for attack to meet that. That's about it though from me. But before I go ahead and do the normal wrap up, again, big shout out and thanks to Solobass, who I would have loved to have gotten his wrap up here, but again, it was fantastic of him, very kind of him to make the time to come join us, and he only had to take off because Solo has woken up. So, it was a real pleasure, and who knows when we may have a repeat guest back again soon. Sure, we'd love to have him. But
Twitch.tv/Solobass15.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And
There.
I will say, I
Public
think that was
service
really
from
cool
Facebook.
to know that Mini Solo was waking up somewhere on the moon of Endor. That the way that room was decorated, his kids got the full Star Wars experience.
It is adorable. It is. Thanks for the assist on that plug there, Fatal. It's good. It's good stuff. All right, guys. So as always, of course, thanks to you guys. Thanks to everybody for being here. And if you're used to watching me live, then you know that you can find me at twitch.tv/Tassenix. I am also now simulcasting on YouTube when I stream. So go to Tassenix Gaming, my YouTube channel. Check out the streams tab. And when you see my Discord notifications announcing I'm going live, pick your poison. Watch me where you like. Otherwise, you already would know that Plotting and Scheming is hosted on the Tassenix Gaming YouTube. It's actually rebroadcasted there, where it is natively from Spotify. Every episode of the show has an RSS feed link that you can plug into your preferred podcast program. So if you don't find us where you like, if you find us first, you'll be able to keep up with us. Let's see. Aside from that, on my YouTube channel, there are some other great Swugger-related pieces of content for you to check out. Got my recent Datacron set video on set 20 here. Made that with Aesop Rock, one of the best players in the world. We've got, let's see here, my recent Omicron tier list guide. We've got my mod guide videos on characters and factions that you've been asking about. And of course, all of my previous Grand Arena VODs with chapters added for easy browsing. I appreciate you, TJ, not falling asleep on me over there in the corner.
Oh, TJ's about to go, man. I hate to say it, but it's like
No, shut off your camera and get out of here. You know I usually do this part myself, my man. It's all good,
we will
dude.
holla, guys. It's been fun, man.
Yeah, you're good, man. But yeah, of course, if you've enjoyed what we've been doing here, you like the show, you want to support my channel, of course, there's a few ways to do that. I do have a Cash App that is $Tassenix. PayPal's always available. That's tassenix@gmail.com. But if you are really wanting to get something back, get some improved tools to help your scouting game, get early access to some of my content, and of course, dedicated text and voice chat where you can usually find me, you got to check out my Patreon. So check out patreon.com/Tassenix. For any upwardly mobile Grand Arena player, I think there's something there of interest for you. At $5 a month, you enter the Tass House at the VIP access level, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast, which is coming out to the public on Friday mornings at 8 a.m., but my patrons are getting it as early as Tuesday night, depending on when we get started and how cooperative YouTube is being with the upload. But regardless, you're going to have that information ahead of round one for the week. Get that little extra edge. So thank you so much to Andrew, Arj, Banja, Deadpool Kyle 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Johnny B. Ottawa, Miasmal, Mus Ross, Ray's Malbus, Sam Vimes, Sheepdog 47, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens 14, and White Wolf. Stepping on up to the $10 a month tier is VIP Access Plus, where, in addition to the aforementioned benefits, you also get a bundled Patreon membership to OmegaBot. So if you're used to watching my streams, I'll pull an OmegaBot comparison, a report on my opponent, and it gives you a strong at-a-glance sense of what they're about, offensively and defensively. Patrons can pull greater than 1 week of history, and you also get a downloadable HTML version of the report with links that you can click that takes you right back into Swigga.gg or GAC Insight, whichever you use. But it, again, just helps you drill down quickly onto the questions you're really wanting to know about that opponent. Anyway, thank you so much to Stryker, Esh Sotnikam, Dobby, and Snack Attack for signing up. Of course, at VIP Access Premium, that is the DoubleBot bundle, $15 a month, but that's Patreon access to me, OmegaBot, and Hot Utils, the #1 tool for your mass mod management and loadout creation. A couple of clicks. Excuse me, I need a sip of water. A couple of clicks can have you move between your Raid, TB, TW, Grand Arena mods, save a bunch of time there. You can comprehensively remod your roster the same way Fatal and TJ do. You can slice through, weeks or months worth of mod farming in seconds, to say nothing of all the TW functionality. So thank you so much to Duckstab, Dark Hug, Ibanek, General Milan, Sir Boss, Quig, Wilco, Frick Frack Paddywhack, Argots, Zoltre, and the Lost Womprat for taking what I would argue is the best value bundle in the game anywhere. And of course, at the top of the list, the one, the only Nomad's Reaper in Jester's Club Elite. This is by far my biggest and best supporter over the years. He will pop into stream from time to time, drop hundreds of subs and thousands of biddies. Incredibly generous support over the years. Thank you so much, my man. And of course, last but never least, our special thanks. First up to Yoda Force, one of my earliest supporters from way back in the day, bought me the mic that I'm speaking to you on right now, and even though he has long since quit the game, we wish him well from the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for all of the interference you run in the background, stopping our daughter from tearing apart our home brick by brick while her father is tied up trying to be halfway decent at a phone game. And of course, we could never forget, special thanks to Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Of course, also today, Solobass as well. But yes, to my regular co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming, thank you guys so much for making yourselves available on a weekly basis to record our show. It's always a pleasure and a privilege. I pick up things from you every week. Hopefully I can share the favor back from time to time. But regardless, our community learns a ton from us. The engagement, the questions, the growth, not only into just the show, but the passion, the community surrounding the show. You guys are a huge part of that winning recipe. Wouldn't change a thing. Thanks so much. All right. Moving back on over to the main scene. Yeah, it's just me and a bunch of empty frames now. But it's been an amazing conversation, and I'm really looking forward to this first week. So we'll see you back here next week for the Week 1 review episode of Plotting and Scheming. But until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.